Welcome back to Sway TV. I'm your host JJ here on Amazon Live, and I'm so excited!
We're gonna have some fun on the street,
And we're doing Workout Wednesdays here on Amazon Live.
and she is fresh off the set of Shark Tank.
It's such an honor to be here today, so thank you.
We are going to be talking all about parenting.
Functional medicine is all this stuff. It's integrating things that improve your life.
This is our tribe of women.
I completely agree with you, Kimmy. It starts with being happy with how you look.
What is the key to a successful business?
We made history here on Amazon Live. Would you ask her out again, Michael?
I am so excited for today's Battle Shop Live. And it's Brad Grunberg. Hi, Brad. What more could you want than the Self-Love Workbook? Rosalind just said this is better than Netflix.
Oh, Naveen says this is better than Netflix. Yes!
Here we go.
There's a Tesla. You can actually buy a car on Amazon. That is so crazy. The perfect gift. Yes, we got our Drake's Cake break.
David is live streaming. We got it right up in the corner. I love this.
Oh, that feels so good.
Oh my God, that is the coolest thing ever.
So awesome.
Shake, shake, shake. Shake your zoo life. This is fun. Drum roll, please. Dun, dun, dun.
And one person's gonna win a PS5. Which one will it be?
Here we go. I'm so excited. I can't even stand it.
And Sam's in the chat says, Sway TV rocks. Woo! We're still going. Yeah, we don't sleep at Sway. One of the best comments I've ever received, ever, hands down.
2, 1.
All the time streaming live. We're sharing great products. We're doing great interviews and amazing giveaways.
Amazon, we love you, Amazon. So grateful for you guys and for Sway TV.
I've had such a great time with all of you.
Shop attainment all the time. It is a girl's dream come true for someone like me to be able to give you dating advice and shopping all in one platform.
Amazon Live, woo! Let's sway.
Let's sway. Let's sway. Let's sway.
Let's sway.
Let's sway. Let's sway. Let's sway. Let's sway.
Let's sway.
Let's sway.
Let's sway.
Let's sway!
Let's sway.
Let's sway. Let's sway. Let's sway. Let's sway.
Good morning, everybody, and welcome to Sway TV. I'm Candace Kita, and I'm your host, and I'm coming to you live. That's right, live on super early Tuesday morning here in Los Angeles, California. And because I'm coming to you live, did you know that I can talk to you right now in live time? So please leave a question or a comment, or, we love suggestions right there in the chat, and I would love to speak to you. So tell me, where are you coming from today? What time is it? And I always like to know the weather, because right now it's not even 6 o'clock in the morning in Los Angeles. So I can't even say it's sunny LA like I usually do. It's so dark I can't even tell. But, I hear it's going to be in the 70s today, that it's actually going to be almost 80 degrees. Can you believe it? Isn't that crazy? You guys, so let me know where you are in the country or anywhere else in the world, and what time is it, what's the weather like, and how has your week been so far? And like I said, I'm coming to you live here on a Tuesday morning, so I just love being able to interact with you guys, see what you guys are up to, why you're on this platform. And for those of you who are brand new to Sway TV, why don't you go ahead and just hit that follow button? That's right, hit the follow button here at Sway TV for fun shows awesome programming, fun hosts, and of course, don't forget to shop the show. Don't forget to shop the show down there for awesome items, fun things that the hosts have found for you. And you know, if you've never been here before, we have so many fun shows. I just want to show you some right now. So as you can see, we've got Kimmy's Love Hub, Navigating Life with Michelle Mitchell, The Sassoon Way, The Chakra Girl. I love Lifestyle with Laura. I've spoken to her before. She talks all about wellness, health, fitness, diet, just, you know, great stuff for the new year, right? On the Go with Tambi. And yes, for those of you who have asked me in the chat before, she really does have that much energy, and she really is that awesome and positive of a person when she's not on camera. So many people are saying they love her. She's their favorite host. I just love Tambi. And we also have, you know, Shay J and her awesome fitness workout routines, which actually reminds me, you guys, I know that you know how to find us here because you're here live with me, but did you know that we also have replays? So say you missed Shay J and one of her awesome fitness routines, no worries. No big whoop. All you need to do is go to swaytvreplay.com. That's swaytvreplay.com to catch all of our fun past episodes and see all our great hosts. We also have a podcast. I don't know if you guys know that or not. It's a Sway TV podcast available on Amazon Music, which is really fun. If you want to listen to us, if you want to see our awesome shows on the replay at swaytvreplay.com, or if you want to watch us live like you are right now with me, just don't forget to shop the show. Shop the show for all these terrific items that the hosts have found for you. And you know, these are items I think that just make your life so much easier, so much fun. You know, what's more fun than getting a new lipstick color for spring, right? At least that's my philosophy. And you know, somebody asked me the other day in the chat, you know, do these things that Amazon, do they just give them to you and you have to talk about them? And I'm like, no, these are things. For example, I brought in lipsticks yesterday by Origins that are available here on Amazon. They're my own lipsticks. I love them so much. I'm actually wearing one right now that's a little bit between a lipstick and a lip balm. It's actually one of my absolute favorites. And so what I thought I would do is, for those of you who don't know about that lipstick, for Get Ready With Me yesterday, I literally tried on every single color. And you guys were telling me I like this one first, this one second, this one third. That one doesn't look the right color on you, Candace. So, you know, it was so much fun. And these are items that, you know, these are mine that I have purchased on Amazon myself that I love. And I just want to share them with you. Shay J and her awesome fitness workout routines too. These are items that she's found herself, and she uses her yoga mats, resistance bands, ladies' 5 and 10 pound weights, you know, jump ropes, ropeless jump ropes, weight benches, all these great items you can find here at Amazon. And you can see Shay J and Fit Over 50 Doug Jeffrey using these items. And if you're interested in getting them, you can also just find them here by shopping the show. It's so much fun. Oh, hi, Sammy. How are you? Good morning. How is your morning? What are you up to? This is my friend Sammy. She's so awesome. And remember yesterday I was saying Somi? It's so funny. How are you? What are you up to? And what is the weather like where you are? We're both on a little bit earlier today, aren't we? Right now, for me, it's 5 something in the morning. What is it, your time? Oh, you just ate, and then you're getting ready to go. I wish I could have Sammy now too. Oh, JJ1010, good morning. How are you? I didn't see you yesterday. How are you? Oh, hi, Caitlin. Everybody's there. You guys are there early. For me, at least. I know where you guys are, it's a little bit later. Oh, thank you, Sammy. Here, I want to tell you guys, I think it's 6 something in the morning, and where you guys, let me know where you are, what time it is, and what's the weather like. Here it's supposed to be in the 70s. It's supposed to be super, super nice today. Raise the roof. JJ1010 is like, raise the roof. That's awesome. You guys have so much energy on a Tuesday morning. That is terrific. So anyways, I just wanted to say good morning to you guys and see what you guys are up to. This morning, as you already know, it's Get Ready With Me. But as I'm getting ready, I'm going to tell you about my host, my guest. I'm so excited. Oh, it's 9:05 where you guys, okay, so 6:05 my time. That's right. So it's going to be a nice day today. A lot of you guys I know are getting ready for class, right? The, the virtual remote class that you guys are getting ready for this morning. So let me know what classes you're going to be in. Are you guys prepared? I know somebody was going to history yesterday and somebody else was going to violin class. So let me know if you guys are prepared for everything today. I am in a place between time zones. What do you mean between? Mountain and Central? Just got some home fries going in the oven, seasoned to perfection. Oh my gosh, that sounds so good. Salt, pepper, or paprika? Hi, Kai, how are you? Good morning. Where are you coming in from this morning? I love it when people say good morning to me. I'm so excited. And Caitlin's got some home fries in the oven. Girl, I wish you were here right now because I'm from the South. And you know I love Southern food. I love Southern cooking. And home cooking is my absolute favorite. What did you season them with? Garlic? Oh my gosh, I love French fries. Anyways, exactly, you guessed it. That is so funny. I wasn't sure. So that if you're between time zones, like right here, it is 6:05. So where is it your time right now, JJ1010? Between Central and Mountain. How crazy. Garlic and Cajun with black pepper. Oh my gosh. I wish you were here right now, Caitlin, and we could all share them together, because don't you guys think that sounds awesome? Home fries, like big, thick home fries. I am just waiting for David. Oh, yeah. Well, David's coming on. Isn't he coming on later today? And for those of you who don't know, onion powder, what's that? Onion powder. Onion powder. It's so good. I put onion powder on scrambled eggs, too. I love onion powder. Onion powder. I am eating real buttered grits. Are you really? Because I love grits. I love grits. And like I said, I'm from Texas, so. Oh, Striker, buenos dias, ¿cómo está usted? How are you? I have a Zoom meeting at 10 to 11 and DBA for math and science. Oh, good. This is Sammy. So are you prepared? Are you ready for it all? Buenos dias, Striker. ¿Cómo está usted? Where are you right now in the world? Yeah, that's what I thought. I love cheese grits. Cheese grits and greens, believe it or not. Because like I said, I was raised in Texas, and I love that, and black-eyed peas and fried okra and sweet potatoes, and my mouth is watering now at 6 o'clock in the morning for all these great things. So you guys, that's so awesome. Anyways, you guys, welcome and good morning. You're just getting ready with me here at Sway TV. And you know, I have a special guest that's going to be coming on soon. So we're going to be moving here, and I'm going to keep going, and I'm just going to walk over to the interview place because we have an astronomer. His name is Tom Burbine. Oh, if I walk across the campground, I am in Mountain, and if I walk back, I'm in Central. No. That's crazy. So you're literally right on the border between Mountain and Central time. Isn't that? So if you go to 7-Eleven and go pick something up like a cup of coffee, you could be in Mountain time. And then if you walk down the street, you're in Central. So you're right on the border. That's insane. I've always thought that was funny. And you know, what is it coming up? What is that thing called? What is it when it goes 1 hour early? Somebody tell me. I can't remember. You know what I'm talking about, where it's about to get early again in March, where we have to get up an hour earlier. You really wish you want me. Oh no, Sammy. Sammy and JJ1010 know each other, and I guess they go back and forth. So you guys, do you know each other in real life, or you guys know each other here? Or you guys are friends, because I know sometimes you guys refer each other for that contest giveaway they're about to give away. I dare you to do a show in Spanish. I don't know that much Spanish. I can order, but I don't know that much Spanish. So Anyways, daylight savings time. Thank you, Stryker. That's what I was thinking of. Yeah, it's about to be daylight savings time, and in this month it's going to switch. Caitlin says, uh-oh, Amazon. Oh, you don't know. Hola. Okay. Oh, Stryker, so you got a lot of entries yesterday, last night in the PS5 giveaway. That's what I was just told. That's awesome. Customer. Yep, Sammy, my mouth is watering. It's Sammy. Let me tell you guys, because Stryker just got a lot of entries in the PS5 giveaway. So I know a lot of you guys know about this PS5 giveaway that we're going to be doing. It's on March the 8th, and it's already the 2nd, so the time has flown, and it's coming around the corner. But you guys still have some time. So if you're interested, we are going to be giving away a brand spanking new PlayStation 5. That's right, a PlayStation 5. It's going to be on March the 8th, and it's going to be at 5 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, which is 8 p.m. on the East Coast, and then it's 7 p.m. Central, 6 p.m. Mountain. How's that for all the time, Stryker? But anyways, you just have to be present on that day to win. And of course, obviously you want to be present because we're going to be drawing live to see if you won this brand new PlayStation 5. And Caitlin says, I have that electric toothbrush. Why does this happen to me? Sammy, I know. So anyways, all you have to do is be present when we draw, and to enter, it's so simple. And you know, you guys, Stryker's been doing an awesome job, and you guys have been referring so many people. We really appreciate it. All you need to do to enter is just refer a friend. So it's that easy. All you need to do is refer a friend to come here and follow us here on Sway TV. And then they're just going to say that, oh, Sammy referred me, or JJ1010 referred me, Stryker referred me, Sammy referred me. And then all we're going to do is we're going to write your name on a card here. And then I'm going to enter it down into the drawing to win this brand new PlayStation 5. Now, your friend, just for following us, we're going to enter them in a separate drawing, and that's going to be for a $250 Amazon gift card. Isn't that awesome? A $250 Amazon gift card just for following us here at Sway TV. And we're also going to be doing that drawing on March the 8th at 5 p.m. and Pacific Standard Time. So it's really an awesome thing. And if you're the person like Stryker who referred a ton of people, if you're the person that referred the most amount of people on March the 8th when we do the drawing, you too, we're just going to give you a $250 Amazon gift card. So how awesome is that? It is so exciting. So, you know, hypothetically, you could win the brand new PlayStation 5. You could also have a friend that wins the $250 Amazon gift card, and you yourself, for referring the most amount of friends into the drawing, can also win that other Amazon $250 gift card. So it's an awesome deal, you guys. Now this is going to be March the 8th, and the other thing that you just need to do is you have to have an address in the continental United States, where if you win, we can ship it to you. We can just send you that brand new PlayStation 5 to you. Now, you don't have to live here in the United States. You can live in the Bahamas if you're lucky, or any place else. We had people calling in from Sweden the other day, Dominican Republic, Southeast Asia, Australia. You can live anywhere else you want in the world. You just have to have an address here in the continental United States for us to be able to mail your brand spanking new PlayStation 5 to you when you win. So you guys, you've got a little bit of time. What is today, the 2nd? So you've got like less than a week before we do this drawing. And for those of you who are out there who said that, oh, I don't know if you're really going to give away this PlayStation 5, well, I can guarantee it because we gave one away earlier, and this was just a couple of weeks ago, and Gary from Toledo, Ohio won. So Gary, if you're out there, congratulations, and are you playing your PlayStation 5? So we're excited that he won. Oh, thank you so much, Sammy and JJ1010. Thank you so much for PlayStation, for coming in today. Good luck in your classes today, and the rest of your day. Have an awesome time. Thank you so much for coming in. And Striker, PlayStation 5. Yes, that's right. There is a PlayStation 5 we're going to be giving away. And unos, dos, tres, cuatro, if you have a PlayStation 4 and you just want to upgrade to the 5, this is an awesome time to do it. Because did you know, I don't know if you guys know this, you can't find a PlayStation 5 anywhere. Why? Because at Christmas, they were basically at the top of Santa's gift list, right? So at Christmas, they were sold out. And so now here we are in March, and you can basically not find one anywhere. So this is an opportunity even for you guys if you wanted to purchase one. Oh, Sammy, you're still there. Not me. I was talking to JJ1010. Oh, got it. Okay, awesome. I'm so glad you're there. But I was saying for those of you who wanted to purchase a PlayStation 5, PlayStation 5, and you couldn't, this is an awesome opportunity to be able to just, win one. We'll just send one to you. And because you guys have helped me as I've been playing games like Astro's Playground where I don't know what's going on and I'm terrible at it, that you guys have helped me so much. So I always say, just take this game. Take it off my hands. I don't have to play it anymore. Speaking of Astro's Playground, there are so many other games that are available on the PlayStation 5, that PlayStation 5 Striker, that are not available on the PlayStation 4. So that's one of the main differences, is there's a lot of games that are in the system already that are unavailable on the earlier models. Another thing is everybody's been telling me the graphics and the resolution are amazing on the PlayStation 5 compared to the PlayStation 4. I haven't myself played on the PlayStation 4, so I don't know, but this is what I'm being told. And you guys see me when I play. You guys can't see it, but I have like a like a 77-inch screen next to me. The resolution and the graphics are absolutely amazing. Oh, Sammy says it was 10, and then I'll leave to the Zoom meeting. Okay, yeah, so got it. So you're going to be going pretty soon because you have to get going on your busy day. So that's awesome, though. That's very cool. And a lot of you guys I know are... if there's anybody out there too, who else is doing classes remotely like Sammy is? Because I know a lot of you guys are doing classes remotely. So you guys are able to pop in and out. And then yesterday, I remember you were telling me, it's like, oh no, I have my class on, but my class is boring. So I put on Sway TV at the same time. And you guys are doing both things at the same time. I don't know if I can multitask like that, because I don't know if I'm that great of a multitasker, but it's fun, and it's awesome that you guys are staying with us even through your classes. So we really appreciate it. So anyways, like I was saying, that go ahead and enter this awesome contest that we were just mentioning. It's for a brand new PlayStation 5, and it's going to be on March the 8th. It's going to be drawn at 5 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, which is 8 p.m. on the East Coast. And for Striker, I don't know, because it's like in between the Central and Mountain time zones. One side of your house, it would be at one time, and then if you walk to the other side of your house, it would be another time. Lexi, good morning. How are you? This is my girlfriend Lexi. I'm so excited that you're here. How have you been? And what are you up to this morning? I'm so happy to see everybody. It's so funny, I'm on a little bit earlier today than I usually am, so maybe you guys are around a little bit earlier. Let me know. I'll be more than happy to come earlier to say hi to you guys, because I was surprised everybody's up. But you guys are, a little bit later than me, right? Because here it's about 6 something in the morning, and where you guys are, it's 9, 10. Oh no, Lexi not here. Is Lexi here? I thought it said Lexi here. I don't think Lexi's here then, Sammy. But Lexi pops in all the time, and hopefully she'll pop in later on today, right? Or later on this morning. Do you guys, that's a good question. I was actually wondering. I usually am in the mornings. Every once in a while, I'm in on the afternoons here in Los Angeles. Are you guys on Sway TV all day? Off and on? Sammy, Stryker, JJ1010, are you guys on throughout the day, or are you primarily on earlier in the morning here on Pacific Coast time? I'm just curious because a couple of days I'm probably going to be on in the afternoon. I just wanted to see if you guys were around. So anyway, so what I was saying is this just, getting ready with me as usual. Now that's early. I know, 6 a.m. It's 6 a.m. I started at 5 something this morning here, but you guys are always up at this time. And so I wondered, because I always see you guys in the morning. So if I was on, say I was on 2 or 3 in the afternoon here, Pacific Coast time, would you guys be around? Because I have some interesting guests that are going to be coming up, and they may not be able to get up as early as me. And so we might have to go a little bit later to accommodate the guests. Not all day, sometimes for a break. Oh, got it. Anytime is a great time for Sway TV. Oh, thanks, Stryker. I really appreciate it. Thank you. Thank you. So yeah, I have some really great guests coming up maybe in the next week. So I'll give you a sneak preview. I have some people that are Emmy Award winners that are going to be talking about some of the shows that they're working on currently. And also we can talk about some of the DVD box sets of these shows that are available currently on Amazon. So anyways, that's probably going to be in the afternoon because a lot of these people are not going to be like, Candace, I'm not going to sit here and have a Zoom interview with you at 5:30 in the morning. So just wondering if you guys are going to be around or not. And today I actually have a guest who's going to be coming in really shortly. Oh, Southern California here, Stryker. Yeah, see, same with me. So then why are you up? I'm just curious, Stryker, why are you up so early in the morning? Because I'm just an early bird. Are you an early bird or are you a night owl? Because you have lived in, so you're 1040. Okay. So 1040, Sammy. So yeah, a lot of us are either early birds and you're up early for work, or just because you're like me and you get up early, or you live in different time zones. So I'm just kind of gauging where everybody is. So if I were to come in the afternoon, if you guys would be around, or it might be super late where you are. And I have a friend, Sid, who comes in from Australia. They're 1 day in advance in the morning. So it's kind of confusing. And then I have a friend who comes in from Israel, and it's nighttime. So every time it's like 6 in the morning here, it's like 5 in the evening over there on the same day. It's confusing. But anyway, so I'm so glad you guys are here. But in in just a little while, I'm just going to go walk over, keep this whole thing going. And oh, thank you, Sammy. I love these corgi doggies from Amazon. Is he holding on? Those are Amazon boxes, right? Because he's smiling and he's holding onto the boxes. Where's the one where he does the sunglasses like this? And he's so cool with his like 1980 Ray-Bans that are so awesome. Oh, do you have that one? Or the one where he's popping out of the Amazon box? It's so cute, and he's like poof, and he pops open in out of the Amazon box. I love it. Please send me those if you guys have these funny gifts. Oh, there he is. Oh, he's gonna sing a song. Is he? Oh, maybe he's doing. What is that? Oh, and there he is coming out of the box. Thank you. What is that thing? Karaoke. Is he doing doggy karaoke? Oh, he's wearing a scarf like me. Thank you. I love that one. I always wear a scarf sometimes in the morning because, it's kind of chilly. Oh, Caitlin says I have 4 computer screens at my workstation. Oh, that's how you do it. One is for work. The other one is for security. Oh, your security camera. The other one is for Prime Videos, and the other is for live. Holy Toledo. Wow. Got it. So you can work at your workstation. You have a security camera so you can see. And then the other one is for the Prime Videos, and the other one is for live. Got it. So you have all sorts of stuff going on at the same time. That's really multitasking. Oh, you too, Sammy. So what do you have? Do you have a couple of screens going on simultaneously? Because yesterday, this is the first time that I had heard of it. You guys were telling me that yesterday. That you're like, oh, we have you on, but we're also doing class on another thing. So you guys have a lot of things going on all the time. And I'm sure you have your mobile device too. That's too much. That's crazy. That's awesome. Got it. I love the Amazon. You're talking about Prime Videos. Is the Amazon Prime Videos? That's one of my favorite things to do. What are you guys watching right now on Amazon Prime? I love all the programming and all the shows. And one of the ones that I saw recently, and tell me if you like this, the Borat subsequent movie film, or Borat subsequent movie video, is that what it was called? Did you guys see that one? That was hilarious. And it's a free one available on Amazon right now to all Amazon Prime members. And I could watch that a million times over. It was so funny. And then you can get all the other Borat movies on Amazon Prime too. So if you watch that one first, I would suggest going back to the very first one and watching the first Borat one and then go down as you go. Oh my goodness, it's hilarious. So anyways, like I was saying, is we're just getting ready this morning with everybody. It's about 6:25 in the morning, Los Angeles time. And, you know, I'm going to have a guest who's going to be, he's up at 6 something in the morning, our time in Southern California, Pacific time, because he's located on the East Coast. Otherwise, I would not make my guest get up and Zoom with me at 6 a.m. I'm up, it doesn't mean they're up. So anyways, he's located on the East Coast, and he is an astronomer, and you might have seen him before in the chat section. He actually wrote a book, and he's a Chambliss Award winner, and so we thought we'd Zoom him in, and you guys, it might be, oh, American Gods! I saw the first couple of episodes of that. Amazing. I love that. I need to go further into it, actually. I need to go a little bit further into it. And who is the older gentleman with the dark hair? He's such a great actor that is in that. He's been in so much, a lot of period pieces. You know who I'm talking about, the kind of Italian-looking older gentleman. He was great. Oh, part 1. Yeah, I'm only in part 1, but actually it's funny that you mentioned that because the guest that's going to come on, Caitlin, you should actually stay on, and that's one of his favorite shows. I'm not joking. He was the one that referred me to American Gods on Amazon Prime. His name is Tom Burbine, and he's a renowned astronomer, and you just happen, oh, Sammy, you're on part 1. Yeah, me too. You guys should talk to Tom Burbine. He's going to be coming in soon. He's the astronomer who's the guest. That's one of his favorite shows. And he communicates with the actress. There's an actress in American Gods. Let's find out when he comes on. He communicates and is friends with one of the actresses on the show. And that's how he mentioned it, and that's how I was watching it. And who is the guy, you guys? I'm trying to think of that actor that's been in so many period pieces. That's one of the lead actors. He's the older gentleman. Are you still on part 1? Yes, I'm still on part 1. Tom Burbine, who is the guest that's about to come on. This is one of his favorite shows. Are you still on live? Yes, I will be. He's coming on, and what we're going to do is I'm just going to, thank you for asking that, Sammy. When our guest is about to come on, I'm going to stay live. There's not going to be a break. And I'm just going to go walk over and resituate myself. And we're going to zoom in. We're going to beam in the guest live, and then you guys can actually talk to him about American Gods if you're interested, because he does know some people on that production. It is one of his favorite shows. It's very funny that you mentioned that, Caitlin, because the person that's about to come on knows all about that show, and he was the one that was encouraging me to watch it. Money Heist is a great show. I know. Is that the one that is foreign? It's foreign, right? Is Money Heist... is it French? I can't remember. It's funny, Stryker, that you mentioned that, because Tom Burbine is that's another one of his shows. Wait, you guys, come on, and you need to ask him about these shows because he knows all about them. What time? Because I want to see too. He's coming on. They're actually talking to him right now. So I think within minutes, literally, it's before you have to go, Sammy. Yes, in Spanish. That's right. It's in Spanish. That is the one that Tom Burbine, the guest that is about to come on. So, you know what? We should talk about this right at the top when he comes on, you guys, because I know that Sammy's going to have to go pretty soon. He does know about American Gods. He does know about Money Heist. And like I said, he's friends with one of the actresses on... I think it's a beautiful actress on American Gods, season 1. So we'll talk about that first, so then Sammy can go to do what she needs to do on Zoom, and then we can talk about, you know, what he does, because he is an award-winning astronomer who has written a book that's currently available on Amazon, and he's a Chambliss Award winner. He's also a professor at an East Coast university. Ian McShane, that's it. I knew it. Thank you so much. You know how like when somebody, you can see them in your head and they're on the name is on the top of your head and you just couldn't think of it? That's the guy. Yes, because he was also in, it's not the Tudors. What is that other one? It's not the Tudors, but it's the Borgias. right? He was also in the Borgias, which is a period piece. I think that you can find that on Amazon Prime. And he's done a lot of these period piece things because I think, doesn't he have that face that looks like he's back in the Renaissance period or he's in the Middle Ages? Yeah, that's what you're saying, Ian McShane. He's one of the main guys in American Gods, right? I remember seeing him throughout the first season. So, anyways, yeah, that's a great show that's available on Amazon Prime. There's so many other shows. Money Heist was awesome. Tom Burbine always kind of tells me what shows that he's watching right now on Amazon Prime, and he'll be like, "Oh, watch this. This is really great." What's the other one that it shoots in Canada? Can you guys remember that one? He can help me and he can tell me, oh, you know what? You guys can't see him, but I can see him right now. So Tom Burbine is getting ready and he's going to be on very soon. And so what I'm going to do, I can see him. He's sitting in front of his computer. He's just waiting. And we're going to talk to him. If he can hear me, we're going to be talking to him about Money Heist. And we're going to be talking to him about American Gods. And we're also going to be talking to him about his career. And if you guys are interested in the Mars rover that just landed last week, I believe, excuse me, from JPL at NASA, the Jet Propulsion Lab here in Pasadena, located here in Southern California, and they actually landed the Mars rover last week, and so I'm sure that he has something to talk about in regards to that. That's really exciting, and for those of you who are interested in NASA in Houston or NASA down at JPL here in Southern California, located in Pasadena, in Los Angeles, I'm sure he has some interesting tidbits about those places. I've been to NASA in Houston twice, and I've been to the campus of JPL, but I actually haven't taken the tour. But he knows all about the planets, and if you guys are interested in the celestial bodies, constellations, asteroids, meteorites, planets, and all sorts of, oh yeah, you guys are too. Oh, Sammy, you are. Perfect. Yeah, so this is a person to ask any questions to. Like I said, he's an East Coast professor, and he teaches Planet X. Oh, awesome. Yeah, so Tom is going to be here like literally in a couple of minutes. I see him in the Zoom right now, and we are going to be talking about all these interesting things in astronomy. And for, you know, people that are out there, maybe your parents or have young kids that are interested in astronomy and just, you know, discovering, putting their foot down firmly onto that path, and you have an interest in it, you know, highly recommend his book that he talks about asteroids and meteorites. And I'm going to actually ask him, you know, what are the difference between, you know, like the sun, I know, is not a planet. The sun, I know, is made of helium and hydrogen, and it's a mass of energy. So what's the difference between that and a planet and something like a satellite, like a moon that orbits us? So, okay, you guys, he's ready. So I'm going to walk over right now, and I will see you guys in 2 seconds. If you guys can hear me, I am going to continue to walk over, and you guys can see me. And I'm just going to get seated right here and get ready. And just because I'm over here, I want to brush my hair. So, oh yeah, hurry, my Zoom meeting is in 20 minutes. Okay, so Caitlin, let's just hurry up for Sammy because her Zoom meeting is ready. So I'm ready. Is everybody else ready? We are almost ready. Headphones. Let me get my headphones on. Oh, your home fries are getting ready. Caitlin's getting her home fries ready. Sammy's getting ready. All right, are you guys ready? Oh wait, you know what? Let me put these in my back so I can see. I'm almost ready. Give me a second. I'm trying to get the things in. Okay, are you guys ready?
All right. Can you see her? Okay. Yeah. Okay, cool.
Tom, can you hear me?
Okay, stand by. Actually, you're not on sound yet.
Okay.
I'm going to settle.
Okay.
Take your time. hear? Go ahead, talk a little bit.
Yes, I can hear.
Hey, Tom.
Hey, Candace, how you doing? Long time.
I know. Good morning. How are you?
Good. Yeah, I'm so excited for your TV show. I've been trying to watch it every day.
Oh, thank
it's
you.
amazing. I don't know how you could talk so much, but you can do it.
That's what everybody says. You know, you guys who are watching, I want to introduce you to a dear friend of mine. His name is Tom Burbine. He's a Chambliss Award winner and a noted astronomer. Tom, thank you so much for coming here today.
No problem. I'm very glad to help your show, and I'm hoping I can sell some books, but you never know.
Oh, that's awesome. You know, and we are going to talk about your book that is currently available here on Amazon. But, you know, we've got some people in the chat right now, and they've just been waiting for you to come on. And so one has to leave one has to leave in a couple of minutes. And one of their shows, their favorite shows on Amazon Prime is American Gods. And I remembered you love that show. And aren't you also a friend with one of the young actresses on the show?
I met the actress who plays Bilquish at TD. I met her once, and I started her Wikipedia page, so that's as close. I met her once. She's the nicest person you'll ever want to meet. She plays Bilquis, the Queen of Sheba. But I subscribe to American Gods on Amazon. I have a Star subscription. It's one of the best shows on Amazon.
It's so funny because that's what Stryker and everybody were saying right here. Do you guys agree? I'm watching the chat, so I'll tell you what they're saying, because they were saying American Gods was one of the favorite shows. Somebody is asking right now, Sammy is asking, how old are you?
I was born in 1966, so I'm 54, going on 55 years old.
Oh, that's awesome. Now, just because Sammy is about to leave because she has a Zoom meeting and she wanted to know, what do you think, what do you like about American Gods? Because everybody is talking about American Gods, and also, you guys, what was the other show that you wanted to talk about? Because it's another one that Tom likes as well. Can you remind me? So tell me about American Gods, why you like the show.
I like how it brings in the old mythology, the old gods like Odin. It brought in Thor. It brought in Demetrius. They brings in all these old gods and brings them to America, and they're like immigrants in America trying to live, and it's just very innovative and interesting to show. It's very Neil Gaiman, who's the author of the book, is one of the greatest like authors of all time, and he just makes very intricate, and shows kind of like expanded on his ideas and tried to make them bigger. It's just amazing how it brings in all these cultures, what they believe in, and then they're against what they call the new gods, like the internet and all the things in the world, and where people aren't believing in these characters or in their gods. So it's just the fight between the old and the new, and I think it's just amazingly done. I just love it. So it's on. You can subscribe on it. I think it's the 3rd season already, and the show's been up and down. They've had different showrunners, but I think it's kind of found its footing.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, so for you guys that are out there in the chat right now that are interested in American Gods, tell us what you think as well, if you agree with Tom and what he was saying. The other show, thank you, Sammy, so much for you, that I know you like, Tom, because you recommended it to me, and everybody in the chat was recommending it on Amazon, is Money Heist. Remember you were telling me about that?
Yeah, Money Heist is on Netflix.
Oh, okay.
And it's one of the best shows. It's they're trying to do a robbery, and they've had they've had 4 seasons where they're trying to first rob like the Bank of Spain, and then they're doing another heist, and it's just very intricate. They have flashbacks, and it's just the characters are well done. It's just amazing. It's a very good show. You start watching it, you'll just want to watch all the episodes. So it's a really good show, very interesting, very innovative. And they're all trying to do this heist, and they have hostages, and the police are against them. It's just a very well done show. I love that show. I'm ready for the next season.
Oh, awesome. Caitlin is asking, when did you take an interest in astronomy?
I think I took an interest like in high school, where I used to read lots of comic books. So I became interested in astronomy. And then I went to college. I met a professor. I got more interested in asteroids, and I did a master's, and then my PhD was on asteroids. And then I'm always just found it interesting to try to understand what's happening in the sky.
And so you started at a very young age. For those of you that are out there that might be moms or dads and you have kids that are interested in astronomy, what would you recommend as far as like courses to take or classes, maybe extracurricular classes to learn about, like you said, the sky?
Yeah, well, I think you could, first you could watch YouTube videos of about astronomy. There's shows on Netflix called like The Universe. There's other shows on Amazon which you could watch. And if you get like a small kind of relatively cheap telescope, you can see things in the sky. You can see the moons of Jupiter. You can see Saturn's rings. So these are things you could see. But buy an inexpensive telescope, one not too expensive, and I'm sure you can get them on Amazon. See if the child is interested in using it and seeing things. If he likes it, then you can do more and more. I've known people went to like a space camp down in Alabama for NASA. So you just need to go, and there's magazines you can subscribe to, like Sky and Telescope, which comes out every month, which is good articles on astronomy. So you just need to do things. I think now but I recommend getting a relatively cheap telescope and trying to look at some objects and trying to identify the constellations and stars in the sky.
Oh, got it. Well, you know, Sammy had said, yep, that she agrees with you. And Caitlin said, I was introduced to Greek mythology at 13 years of age. And from that point, I was fascinated. Because doesn't Greek mythology have something to do with the constellations? Oh, and Stryker said...
Yeah, many of the constellation names have mythological names like Orion, Cassiopeia, Andromeda. So you can actually see these constellations in the sky. So a lot of them, Perseus, Pegasus has a constellation. There's a great square of Pegasus. So you can actually see Orion and Scorpio. So most of the constellations that are famous all originate in mythology. So if you're interested in Greek mythology, you can see, and I think the ancient Greeks, they believed that these ancient heroes were actually placed in the sky by the gods.
How interesting. You know, now, two people actually said some actually important things. Stryker, just so those of you who are watching, there is sometimes a confusion between astrology and astronomy. So can you go ahead and define the two? Because there's a big difference between the two, and I know the names are so close together.
The ancient astronomers were astrologers. They wanted to predict things in the sky, so they would use where the planets were in the constellations. The problem is, like, you can read in a newspaper every day your horoscope, but it really doesn't have any meaning. Astronomers look and try to study the objects. Astrologers kind of predict your like fortune with them. People believe in it. There's no scientific proof that astrology works, but if you want to believe in it, you can believe in it. The ancient astronomy was all astrology. That what he used, and then it kind of branched off when astronomy became much more scientific.
Got it. Got it. Thank you so much for clarifying that for us that are out there, because it is confusing. And Caitlin asks, do you think, Tom, that we are the only, this is a great question. Tom, do you think we're the only forms of life in the universe?
There are like hundreds of billions of galaxies, probably more. And each galaxy tends to have like hundreds of billions of stars. So the number of stars in the universe is huge. So there's got to be life out there. The problem is the universe is huge, that galaxies are like millions of light years away. The other stars are like light years away. So there has to be life somewhere else, but to see it is the problem because the distances are huge. And in movies, you can go faster than light, you can go warp speed, you can do these things, but in reality, we haven't mastered these things. So I don't think it's going to be difficult to find them. We may be able to find signals using like radio waves, but to actually see life is difficult. And the problem is to find an intelligent civilization, they have to be able to communicate off their planet, like with radio waves, or be able to send spacecraft out. So it's one of those things. I'm sure there's life, but to see it is maybe almost impossible.
Got it.
Technology.
Sammy has to leave. So Sammy, I just wanted to say thank you so much for coming in today and staying so you could see Tom Burbine, and have a great, wonderful day. And then
Thank you, Sammy.
Yes, and Caitlin agrees with you. She says, yes, it's going to be too hard to reach because of the amount of distance. And like you said, in TV and movies, it's very, very different than actual life. You know, a thing that you just made me think of is, you know, last week, the JPL, the Jet Propulsion Lab here located in Pasadena for NASA, didn't they just land the Mars rover last week?
Yeah, that's an amazing mission. They're going to explore it. And what's interesting about that mission is they're going to take pieces of Mars, little samples of Mars, and put them in these containers. And then later, they're going to send a mission there, and take that sample and bring it back to Earth. So this will be the first time. So they're actually going to take samples and store them. They call them caching them. But later, they're going to bring those samples back to Earth so you can study them in the lab. And the advantages of studying in the lab is you can do all these intricate experiments on them. You can study them in super fine detail that you can't do with the rover. So we're going to hopefully get samples back from Mars that aren't meteorites in the next decade, maybe.
In the next decade. Well, how long did it take? What is the distance? I know it's millions of miles between here and Mars.
Yeah, it takes about 8-9 months to go to Mars now.
Wow.
So it takes 8 to 9 months. So then it's going to spend there. And so it'll take we've never landed people on Mars because it's too difficult as of now. And it's very kind of dangerous to be able to send. Like The Martian was that movie where Matt Damon survived on Mars, but we have not done that yet. So it's difficult to go to Mars. In the old days, about half the Mars mission would fail, but now they're pretty successful. It's getting relatively easy to go to, but it's very intricate because Mars is a big planet. It takes 9 months. Not everything has to go right. And then it needs to go on the Martian surface and last for a while. So sooner or later, we'll land people on Mars, but it may not be for 40, 50 years.
Well, what is the temperature on Mars as opposed to here on Earth?
It's much colder. I think there are temperatures at some very places. It's almost 0 degrees Celsius, but most of the temperatures I think are minus 50 to like a minus 100 degrees Celsius. It's super cold. There's no atmosphere there, so water isn't stable on the surface. There might be water underneath the surface, but there's no atmosphere at all, and it's very cold, so water isn't stable on the surface. So it'll be, I think the movie Total Recall, where they were going to terraform Mars, is probably not, it's difficult. It's not probably realistic.
Really? That's so funny that you mentioned Total Recall, because I just now saw the new one. I had seen the old one, and then we had friends in town. Yeah, and we saw the old one. Let me know if you guys have seen that before. If you have any questions, if you're just joining us, this is Tom Burbine. He is a Chambliss Award-winning astronomer, and he's a professor on the East Coast, and he's going to be talking about astronomy in his new book. So if you guys have any questions that you might have, any comments, please go ahead and leave it in the chat. Now's your opportunity. If you have kids, if you have teenagers that are interested in astronomy, now's your opportunity to talk to an expert. Ask any question about the skies and the heavenly bodies above. He's more than happy to answer them. And we were talking about right now the landing of the rover that happened last week from JPL at NASA onto Mars. And so many people are interested in that. So do you think that there could be, Stryker says, that's a really good question, Stryker. How come we haven't really gone back to the moon in recent times? When was the last time we did, and why are we not doing that now?
Well, we landed people on the moon. The last time people landed on the moon was 72, but we've landed missions. The Chinese just got samples of the moon back to Earth. They brought it. The India, they had a spacecraft that mapped the moon. So we've been going there, but we haven't been sending people there. And I think we're going to in the next, they just, I think, pick some of the next astronauts called I think it's part of the Artemis program to go back to the moon. So we will go back. See, to go to the moon, it's only like 3 days. So it's much easier to go to. Because we went there, there's been no like initiative to go back after so many years, almost 50 years. So we will go back there, but everything is expensive. it costs money. And if you bring people, it makes it much more expensive because you have to have all this safety. It's very dangerous to go into space. So it's one of those things, it costs a lot more to send people. You can do a lot with robots, but I think we're going to be going back and we'll have a lunar base maybe within a decade or so.
Wow. Well, what is, speaking of that, what about the International Space Station? I mean, that's out there. Can you explain a little bit about that and how we interact?
That's like in close Earth orbit. So we go to the space station, they can do experiments. You can kind of learn what happens to people in space because on your bodies, there's no gravity. You probably get more radiation. It's thing. So it's a way to bring people and do experiments and to practice going in space, but still be close to Earth. The problem is when you get far from Earth, if you have any issue, it's harder to bring the people back. So you can learn stuff with the space station, but I think really if we want to explore the universe, we need to go to the moon, we need to go to Mars, we need to go out. The problem is the movies make it look very easy in a way, but most likely it's very hard. Probably the movie Alien, where they have to go in like hibernation and everything's kind of old. It's probably the most realistic than compared to like Star Wars or Star Trek.
Oh, seriously? So you're talking about putting somebody hypothetically into like a suspended animation for a certain amount of time?
Yeah, that would thing, because the distances are so far, you want people not to really age and get old. So that's one possibility, but we aren't close there. Maybe in 100 years, maybe longer. Sooner or later we'll get there, but it's probably not something that'll occur like in the near future. Like the movie 2001 was one of those things where you thought we would be there in that when that was made like in the late 60s, but still we aren't even close to some of the things that showed in that movie. So some things were kind of accurate, other things weren't. So sometimes going into space, it's taking a lot more effort than I think we envisioned when we first thought of going there.
How interesting. Caitlin asks, do you think there's any top secret operation the space facilities are conducting?
I don't think there's any like I'm sure they're doing stuff we don't know about, I'm sure, but there's no evidence that they have alien spacecraft or like the X-Files or any of that. I'm sure if they had aliens, it would get out. And all the proof is always like grainy videos. So I don't think there's any evidence of that. I'm sure they're doing stuff we don't know about, I'm sure. But most of the stuff is done through NASA and people do it. And there are like some far-fetched ideas I'm sure people are working on, but I don't think most of it is top secret.
Right. Well, for those of you who are out there, can you tell us the difference between, like, because I'm a little bit confused myself, NASA and like what Elon Musk is doing at SpaceX, and do you think there's advantages to one as opposed to the other?
Well, NASA is the government, our tax dollars pay for it. Well, Elon Musk, it's a private company. So I think with Elon Musk, the advantage is he may be able to take risks that NASA maybe wouldn't and things. And he can dump a lot of money in the idea. And he's a super smart guy and hire the best people. NASA also has the best people too. But I think he's maybe a little more focused. NASA's a huge government agency. Well, he could just focus on putting people on the moon or putting people on Mars. He could just focus on one idea. And I think there's a place for both of them. And then probably when we send people to these other planets, it'll be some collaboration between private and public enterprises.
Oh, got it. Oh, Stryker says, I live close to SpaceX. SpaceX is, is it currently in Houston, in Austin? Because I know that Elon Musk moved to Austin, or is SpaceX someplace else right now and is going to go to Austin? I can't remember. Do you know?
Yeah, I'm not sure because he was in California, but I think he moved to Texas. I can think.
Stryker's on the West Coast. You're right. He is going to move to Texas. Yeah, Stryker's on the West Coast. That's right. So going back to because I'm just really curious when you were saying that I know NASA is a government thing. How long was it from start to last week when they actually landed the space rover on Mars? How long was that project? Was it years in the making? Because it was a big deal.
Yeah, it was years. I think with this is they said they were going to build it. It's probably at least 10 years in the making.
Oh,
and they also have other missions they do earlier. So they learn from those missions. So they did Pathfinder, they did Spirit and Opportunity. So they do it, they learn from it, then they build a new one. So it's probably been, for a lot of those people, is probably at least 5 years of their life working on the instrument, sending it and fine tuning it, and they test all the equipment. So, but we've been going to Mars for a long time, the 70s when we sent the Viking spacecraft. So we've been going, we send stuff, we learn from it, then we go again. And the advantage of these missions is they rove around, they can move on the surface, and they can study different places. Viking just stayed in one place, while Perseverance is actually moving around and can go to different places. So they learn it out, they're drilling in the soil, the experiments they do on them are much more elaborate. So they're really they really are getting as elaborate as possible, and every generation gets better and better.
And I know that Perseverance and all the other rovers have twins at JPL, where there's an actual twin that is about 90% accurate except for the wheels. Here at JPL, where they have a fake mock-up of Mars, and they have rocks that are similar to Mars, and the ground is similar to what they think Mars is, and they actually test the rovers before there's the twin here, and then the real one goes up to Mars. And so they're able, like you said, to do a lot of the experimenting here before they actually take them up there. Stryker said that, yes, SpaceX is in Hawthorne, California, and Elon Musk is leaving California because the taxes are too high here. Thank you so much for letting us know, Stryker, just so we could clarify. But yeah, so like you said, they do a lot of experiments here before they actually take it up into Mars to do it. And I was surprised. What do you think about the possibility of cross-contamination between when you're taking something to Mars, collecting data, and bringing it back? Are we cross-contaminating by accidentally bringing something from this planet over there and vice versa?
Yeah, the problem is they clean the spacecraft, but I think it's almost impossible to get 100% clean. So they clean the spacecraft, they bring it to Mars. For their experiments, I'm sure they'll do a way to like clean it out to make sure what they're looking at are just Martian samples, but it's impossible to clean it. I'm sure there's Earth DNA on Mars brought by the spacecraft, its thing. So that's the problem is, but when we bring samples back, we'll have a much better idea what's going on with Mars. Is there any evidence for life? But it's impossible. And we've had Martian meteorites come to Earth all the time. So there's some people who believe that life may have started on Mars and then came to Earth in the thing. So that's the thing. Some people say we are Martians. It's not impossible because the planets exchange material. Rocks from the moon come to Earth. Rocks from the Earth go to the moon. I'm sure there's rocks from the Earth that are on Mars. There's rocks on Mars on the Earth. So we do exchange material. Can you exchange living organisms? It's probably not impossible, but it's probably pretty difficult.
Well, you know, but that brings up a good point too, is because perhaps life on Mars is not like a biological carbon-based form of life that we have here, that it's a type of life form that we are unfamiliar with, but it is considered still to be deemed life. Could that be a possibility that there is life, but we just don't understand it?
Yeah, you need the carbon-based life, and we need water for life. It works very well, and it is an assumption that life on other planets would be based in the same way with the DNA and RNA. I just saw a talk where they discussed, could you have silicon-based life? It's much more difficult. It doesn't seem impossible, but you might need like special conditions. So most people think that life is carbon-based and uses water, but it's not impossible to get life the other way. We don't really understand how you get life from nothing, how you could have inorganic material, non-living material, and get it to be living. It's still a mystery. We can get the building blocks, but how to get life from no life, we still don't, I think, understand it. We're understanding more and more, but we don't really know, is life on Earth similar to life in the rest of the universe, or are we kind of special and life is different everywhere? We have no idea. We have statistics of one, just life on Earth. So that's why it's important to find life on Mars. If you find life on Mars that originated independently, that may be telling you life is abundant in the whole universe because it can originate anywhere. if we're the only life in the solar system, that is probably telling us life could be special, that life is rarer than we think. You may have to get very lucky to get life. And the Earth was just lucky to get it. These are things we don't really understand yet. And this is one of the reasons we explore things, find planets around other solar systems, trying to see how is life abundant out there. It could be on Europa, which seems to have a liquid ocean. Europa is a moon of Jupiter. So this is why we're exploring to try to find it out. But we're just at the infancy. I think in 100 years, we'll say, oh, we kind of knew nothing. Like 100 years ago, what we knew about the universe was much smaller than we know today. So there'll be huge leaps. Almost every day there's a leap in science.
Well, you know, that actually brings up a good point, because 100 years ago, what did we know of our own ocean? You know, which was 3/4 of our own planet. We didn't know what was underneath there until we basically had scuba. But, you know, it could be possible that, I mean, we see even anaerobic life forms here, that life doesn't even need to necessarily on Earth have oxygen, because we have aerobic and anaerobic bacteria. So it could be possible that there's some type of, you know, anaerobic bacteria that is on Mars that doesn't necessarily need water or oxygen. Stryker is asking, Tom, have you ever watched the movie Life from 2017?
No, I haven't heard it. I'll try to watch that. I have not seen that movie.
Oh, okay. And me either. I know that there's a series. Isn't there a David Attenborough series called Life? It's an amazing series. I have seen part of that. And then Caitlin asks, you know, why does money always have to be an issue for the sake of important answers? And, you know, it's true, like the money, so much of what we delineate in our government towards the space the space program. Do you think that more should be devoted to that? Do you think that more attention should be devoted to that?
Yeah, I think the budget for NASA is much less than 1% of the total budget, much less. And they actually been spending more. So there's missions going. And so I think with these sciences, you really need, because they build innovation, because what they do for these things, the innovations they make help everyone. So all the satellites they have up in space, that's how we can use our like GPS, all these things. So these scientific innovations, everyone can use them. So it's one of those things. So I think more should be spent on just basic science.
Right. Caitlin just asked, are you a fan of Star Trek?
Yeah, I'm a huge Star Trek. I think I like Star Trek. I was able to get an asteroid named after George Takei, who played Sulu, who's a super nice guy. So I was able to get, and I met like William Shatner. I've seen Leonard Nimoy. I've seen Nichelle Nichols. So I've seen most of the cast. The only one that I think I haven't seen is like DeForest Kelly. So I love Star Trek. I love the Next Generation. I love Picard. I love the Star Trek Discovery. I got to see the premiere, I think, of the second season down in New York, and the cast seemed very, very nice and friendly. I love Star Trek. I think more than Star Wars.
Oh, awesome. And Stryker just put the description of the movie Life for us that's in there. I guess it's got Jake Gyllenhaal, Rebecca Ferguson, Ryan Reynolds. So we'll definitely have to check that out. Thank you so much for sending that. What does it say? They're aboard the International Space Station, and they're on the cutting edge of one of the most important discoveries in human history, the first evidence of extraterrestrial life on Mars. And as members of the crew conduct their search, a rapidly evolving life form proves far more intelligent and terrifying than anyone could have imagined. So, hey, Tom, you and I have got to both see that. That's right up your alley.
Yeah.
You know, that's right up your alley. So, if you guys are just joining us, we have got Tom Burbine, who is a noted astronomer. He's an East Coast professor. He's written a book on astronomy. He's a Chambliss Award winner, and we're talking to him in the queue right now. So many people have so many questions for him. So many people out there, it seems that they're interested in astronomy and what lies beyond. Caitlin says there's actually a way to actually buy a star in the sky. Have you heard of this, Tom?
Yeah, there's a way to do it. They put in a book. The problem is it isn't official. They're just selling the name. It isn't a real astronomy name. So you can do it, but it's not something you really can get named after. Like asteroids are named after people. Comets tend to be named after the discoverer. You can get people who died can get craters named after them. But if you buy a star, it's not the real name. No one will use it, but it's a fun thing to do. But it's not an official name sanctioned by the IAU, the International Astronomical Union. So
Oh,
You can do it, but it's not real.
Oh, interesting. So now that you brought that up, because I know you got something named after for George Takei, I know you have named other things for other people, and these are legitimate. And it's not Jimmy Kimmel; it's Adam
Carolla and Dr. Drew Pinsky, because I was such a fan of Loveline, and I was able to get an asteroid named after like Edward James Olmos, so who was Admiral Adama on the Battlestar Galactica. So I was able to get an asteroid named after him. I knew the people who would name asteroids. They sometimes would do me favors. I'd submit names and then they would get accepted. So that's like an official name that will be used for as long as the Earth is around. So that's like official name. A star name, if you name it for somebody, it will not be used by anybody. So that's the difference. Asteroids are one of the things you can get named after you. So I met a lot of my friends that have asteroids named after them because they work in science. Even AOC actually has an asteroid named after her.
Oh,
Ocasio-Cortez. Because a politician can't get one, but she got one because I think she won like second prize in the science contest, and they would get asteroids named after them. So she actually has an asteroid named after Ocasio-Cortez.
That is so interesting. So actually, that brings up a good question, especially for those of you who are out there who are, learning the basics of astronomy. Tell me, what is the difference? Because I don't even know. What is the difference between an asteroid and a meteor, or is there?
Yeah, an asteroid is a rocky body in space, usually rocky. A meteor is a streak of light you see in the sky. You see like a meteor shower. If the piece of an asteroid comes to Earth, it's called a meteorite.
If a piece of
so those are the different.
Okay, so then it becomes a meteorite. Got it. So now
The meteor is what burns up in the sky, and usually that stuff never hits the ground. But there's meteor showers like the Orionids, the Perseids. So those are usually pieces of comets or asteroids where the Earth is going through the orbit, so they occur at the same place in the sky in the same time of the year, and that stuff just burns in the atmosphere.
So then explain to me how we know, how does Halley's Comet come by every, 80 something years? Like, how do we know to predict that?
I think it's every 76 years.
Got it.
75, 76 years. So it'll come back 2061. So it'll come back in about about 40 years from now. So it comes by things in orbit around the sun. They have these orbits, and they're periodic. They follow like Kepler's laws of planetary motion, and they go around the orbit, and the orbit is relatively stable as long as it doesn't interact with something. The Earth's orbit is stable. Halley's Comet is relatively stable as long as it doesn't interact with something or hit something or interact with like a planet's gravity. And it just keeps on going around, and every time it goes by, the other layers sublimate. So you see this, it gets brighter, but every so often, but over time it will extinguish and it'll get too small and it'll break up. But Halley's Comet's been around for like thousands of years.
Wow.
And they'll go around, and it's famous because it's so bright in the sky, and it comes close to Earth, and it's bright, and it comes by every 76 years. And Edmund Halley was able to figure out that the comet they would see in the sky every 76 years was the same comet, so that's why the comet's named after him.
How interesting. And then actually, when you were saying that, just something popped into my head too that I remembered. I remember Copernicus was the one that was saying that we revolved around the sun, if I'm correct. How did they come to that conclusion?
Yeah, he was
How did they come to that conclusion at that time?
Well, the problem is if you look at the sky, everything seems to be moving around the Earth. So you can see why the ancients thought that it was. But what happens is they would try to see where the planets would lie and predict where the planets would fall. Sometimes the planets appear to go backwards in the sky. It's called retrograde motion relative to the stars. So they knew it. So they put in these things called epicycles where they would go back around in their orbit. And the problem was it worked pretty well, but it wasn't great in predicting where the planets would fall. And then Copernicus was very smart. Other people had thought about some of the ancient Greeks, like maybe thousands of years before, but he came up with it. And if you look at it, he was able to just figure out that everything makes more sense if everything's revolving around the sun. So, and then Kepler was able to figure out that the orbits weren't circular, they were actually elliptical. And because they were elliptical, that actually matches better when you try to figure out the position of the planets. It works out better. So Copernicus was kind of right, and then Kepler was able to really figure out how the planets move around the sun. Then Newton figured out why, because of gravity.
How interesting. Actually, talking about gravity, can you explain the concept? Oh, I want to ask you about centrifuge, but I noticed that Caitlin said, and this is really a good question because so many people I know question this. Are there really pyramids on Mars? And I also, well, now I'm going to add to that. She asks if there's pyramids on Mars, but people have also seen what looks like in the past there could have been rivers on the surface of Mars.
Yeah. There's this thing, there's an object on Mars called the face on Mars that the early images of it, it looks like a face. And it's just kind of like a random occurrence where it kind of looks at the face with the right angle. And next to them, they said there was these objects that look like pyramids, but if you have enough shapes on objects on Mars, there's some that are going to look like there's a crater on Mars that looks like a happy face. There's another crater on Mars, I think, that looks like Kermit the Frog. So there are all these, there's a lot of random shapes. And if you look at them right the angle and there's the right shadow, they actually look like things. But they seem to be just geologic features. The rivers on Mars, there are these channels on Mars that look like they could have been formed by water. They look like tributary streams. And there is evidence of water on Mars. So there is evidence that there are channels, and people still discuss it because it looks like rivers, but it doesn't have to be rivers. So because you could probably get this stuff with maybe lava or something like that. So people study them. They think there may have been a big ocean on Mars before it lost its atmosphere. So these are things, that's why it's important. They can study them, they can look for evidence of water, but it's important to get the rocks back to Earth because then you could actually really look for evidence.
How interesting. So I hope that answers your question, Caitlin. And we were going back to what you had mentioned about gravity. Can you explain kind of a basic understanding of gravity? And also, I was just wondering, is it the further we get away from our planet, the less gravity effect we seem to have on each other? Also, Stryker asks, what does Thomas think about some astronomy that they talk about in the book of Job? I think that's astrology, right? I think that's astrology. There's a difference, once again, we were saying, between astrology and astronomy.
Yeah, I think there is some astronomy references in the Bible, and then they did not like it. They wanted everything to be perfect. So the Catholic Church, Galileo, I think, was like excommunicated because some of his teachings, the Catholic Church said they were against. So, and I think they just pardoned him relatively recently. So they put him under house arrest because they really wanted the heavens to be unchanging, everything to be perfect, and everything to go around the Earth to be the center of the universe. So a lot of the astronomy. So I think there's astronomy references in the Bible, but I'm sure they're not super accurate. For gravity Einstein was able to pretty much figure out that anything with mass kind of distorts what they call like the space-time. So everything has mass, everything has gravity, but the farther away you get from an object, the force of gravity depends on the masses of the two objects divided by the distance between the two objects. So for the Earth, it seems like it's the whole mass of the Earth. And all the mass, if you do the calculations, seem to be in the center of the Earth, if you do the calculations. So as you get farther, there'll be less gravity as you go on top of a mountain or you get farther away. But everything is gravity. Like galaxies, the Andromeda Galaxy is actually going to come collide with our galaxy, the Milky Way, in like millions of years, or I think billions of years. So everything with gravity attracts other things with gravity. It's just our gravity, the mass of us is very small. The Earth's mass pretty dominates.
Do you think that that's what caused the moon as a satellite to get locked into, because it's locked within us, right? It doesn't revolve.
Yeah.
It's really locked. Did it get locked into us because of gravity pulling it in towards
Yeah.
the Earth?
It's effective gravity. I think the moon was created by a huge impact on Earth, material came off, formed the moon, and it's tidal locked. So we only see like one side. The way the moon rotates, it's due to gravity and a thing called resonances, that it rotates around the Earth, but we only see one side of the Earth, see one side of the moon. The far side of the moon, which they call like the dark side of the moon, is looks very different, but we don't see it. The only way you can see it is put a spacecraft in orbit, revolve around the moon, and then you can see it. We've never landed there, but you can see it with a spacecraft, and you've taken pictures of it. But the tidal lock gravity, there's all these like resonances that keeps it locked, and so with the way it orbits, we only see one side of the moon.
Got it. We have a couple of questions. Stryker was asking, the astronomy in the Book of Job, is it scientifically consistent? And then we have another question from Caitlin after you answer that.
It probably not. I don't know what's in the Book of Job. It's just the science we have today is I've assumed that any astronomy there is probably not consistent with what I think the people like thousands of years ago, they really didn't understand what was going on in the heavens. They don't have the scientific background, the scientific knowledge. They can't do the experiments. So I'm pretty sure what's in the Bible is probably not accurate, but I'm not sure how much astronomy is in there.
Right.
And what was the second question?
I'm sorry, the second question is from Caitlin, and she says, Tom, are you familiar with Zecharia Sitchin?
No.
Caitlin, can you tell us who that is? And then maybe it'll ring a bell for Tom. I'm not sure who that is as well. And it's really interesting. You were talking about gravity and the effects of gravity on the human body. And can you explain how, when you said that the moon got pulled into our orbit, how the moon became the moon, and also as our satellite, why is it also spherical? I want to know that too, because matter is created out of how are all these celestial bodies, why are they spherical in shape?
It's just it's due to like hydrostatic equilibrium. The bigger you get, it's bringing it together. It just tends to round the shape. Asteroids tend to be all these different shapes, but if you get big enough, when the gravitational force tends to make you circular. So the first order is circular. The moon was supposedly formed when a Mars-sized body hit the Earth. Material came up, then it came back together and formed the moon, and then it was in the Earth's orbit. So they think the moon is a fragment of the Earth and some fragment of whatever the colliding body, which they usually call Theia, and it formed and then it went in. And the moon is kind of a little anomalous. The moon is relatively big compared to the Earth. Like the moons of Jupiter are much, much smaller than Jupiter. The moons of Saturn are much, much smaller than Saturn. So the moon, Pluto and Charon, Charon, the biggest moon of Pluto, Charon is relatively big. The moon, Earth's moon, is relatively big to the Earth. But the larger you get, the gravity just tends to round you. It tends to just give you a round shape.
And so also, how does the moon affect our tides? And I know we don't have tides without the moon. Can you explain that?
Yeah. Well, the moon is actually pulling on the Earth, and then the water is, because it can flow, it's getting pulled. So when the moon's the right orientation, it will be pulling the water, the moon's gravity, and it just keeps on pulling it because the water can actually deform. So when the moon is there, it will actually just pull it, and when it's lined up on the thing, and that's why you have 2 high tides and like 2 low tides a day. As the moon is going around, it's pulling on it. And then on the other side, there's a lack of a force, and the water's kind of coming out. So it's actually pulling on the tides. It's actually pulling on the water and then trying to kind of pull the water. And the water can deform a lot easier than, say, the Earth.
Oh, okay. Okay, and so then was the moon there much later after the Big Bang? Did the moon come later as a satellite to us? And also, was it there before the advent of Earth, of life on the planet?
Well, probably the Big Bang occurred like 13.7 billion. The Earth is about 4.6 billion years old. So the problem is it probably occurred very early in solar system history. And I'm sure the impact was like big enough where any life that was trying to exist probably would have been wiped out, and life would have been restarted if it was starting. Most people think that the life on Earth didn't start till after the moon was created.
And, you know, that's actually brings up a good point, too, because, you know, when you're talking about the Ice Age, do you believe that there was life and then the Ice Age occurred maybe because of an asteroid or excuse me, a meteor or something hitting the Earth, and then only a certain amount of life was able to survive sudden climate change, and then life had to rebuild back again? What are your opinions on that?
Well, the dinosaurs were, they were killed by an asteroid impact about 65 million years ago. So the asteroid hit the Earth. It was only about 10 kilometers in diameter. There was a huge, probably blocked out the summer debris, huge wildfires, and all the dinosaurs couldn't survive. The mammals survived, but they were all relatively small. Anything kind of big did not survive. So that killed it off an asteroid impact. People looked at to see if smaller events could have killed off a lot of life too. Like different geologic times are created because you get different type of fossils. They're looking at when you change the type of fossils on Earth, when a big extinction occurred, was it due to an actual impact or not? And they're looking at it. It's called the KT boundary, between the Cretaceous Tertiary boundary. That's when the dinosaurs died out, but there's all these smaller extinctions. But Ice Age, if the climate changes, things die out. So as the climate changes, you do get like an extinction. So some could have been due to asteroid impacts. Others may have been just due to changing in the climate on the Earth.
Well, yeah, you brought up a good point, because I remember reading that if you were basically a mammal and you were small enough to fit into a refrigerator, you could survive. And all the larger mammals and all the dinosaurs didn't live because of climate changes. And I also read somewhere that throughout the course of time, 98.9% of all living organisms on the planet have gone extinct. So at some point, for other reasons, things may go extinct, not necessarily due to climate change and also asteroids or meteors hitting the Earth. Caitlin says Zachariah Sitchin was an author of a book proposing an explanation for human origins involving ancient astronauts. And they also want to know, are you familiar with the Anunnaki?
No, there are people who believe that humans are like related to aliens. There's no evidence for it, but people do believe it, and I'm sure people study it, but there's no evidence for aliens like seeding life on Earth. I think was an Alien Covenant. One of the alien movies had something like that, but there's no evidence for it. But it's probably not possible. But we found no evidence of aliens. So, but people study them. Most of the time, they're not considered very scientific. There's no real scientific reasoning or logic, because it's very difficult to study because you really don't know what's going on. You have no evidence of the aliens. So you probably could propose it, but it's hard to bring it supported with any scientific fact.
Right. Caitlin, can you tell Tom and I and everybody else that's watching right now, what are the Anunnaki? I'm actually curious. I've never heard of them as well. Stryker said, how many? Oh, I love the blood moon. I love the harvest moon. He's asking you, Tom, how many blood moons are we going to have in 2021? And can you explain what a blood moon is?
Trying to think. So pretty much each of the moons are given 9. They're like wolf moon. I don't know, a blood moon, when they have like a lunar eclipse, the moon kind of looks red. So I think you tend to get them maybe once or twice a year. I think that's referring to is during a lunar eclipse, the light from the sun is blocked out by the Earth and it hits the moon. But because the light is going through the Earth's atmosphere, and the red light can pass through and the blue light gets reflected, that's why we have blue sky. The moon looks kind of red. So I don't know if the blood moon is referring to like a lunar eclipse where the moon kind of looks a little orange to red, depending on what the particles are like in the atmosphere. So I don't know, but each of the moons has a different name. There's wolf moon. A blue moon is like two full moons during the same month. So, but I know each of the moons has like their own like nickname.
Thank you, Stryker, for actually asking that question too, because it made me think of, can you tell us and explain to us the illusion that we see when we see a harvest moon? Why does the moon optically seem so large in the sky, whereas when it's not a harvest moon, it can also seem like a little pinhole in the sky? Explain that optical illusion to us.
Yeah, I think it's like an optical illusion. It's lower in the horizon, and sometimes the moon is actually like a little closer. So I think it's a thing. I think as it's lower in the horizon, closer to the ground, it just looks bigger. And sometimes the moon is actually a little closer. So I think a lot of times that effect where it looks huge in the sky is due to that. So the moon and the sun are about the same size in the sky, about half a degree, because the moon can block out the sun. So it's half a degree. But sometimes I think when it's low in the sky, it just looks bigger.
So it's the illusion of it being large, because sometimes you guys have known, like in August, when you see that big harvest moon, it looks ginormous over the sky, and I always wondered.
But I don't think it's as big as it really is. It's not. It looks bigger, but if you were to measure it compared to the other moons, I don't think it'd be that much bigger.
Right. And maybe this is an ignorant question regarding the moon, but I'm just curious. If we had no moon, would we have life on Earth?
We don't know. Do you need moon? Like Venus doesn't have a moon, and we don't have doesn't appear to have had life, but we don't know for sure. It's one of those things we don't know how lucky you is. Like, did we need a moon to have life? That's the thing. Is some people I think say yes, you need the moon. Maybe it helps regulate things. You don't know. Did you need like the huge collision to kind of get to make the moon? Yeah, so I don't know. We don't know yet. The problem is when you think of life, we have only life on Earth. So we know we have life with all these specific conditions. We don't know if you take away one of the conditions, does everything fall apart? Some people think we might be the only life in the whole galaxy because life is super duper rare. We don't know.
And I just wonder because out of all the planets in the solar system, scientists, what are the planets that they could think possibly there could be life? Like Venus is one and Mars is one, right?
Venus, yeah, maybe in the past. It's too hot now. There could have been life on Mars. Maybe it's underground. Europa and also Enceladus seem to have a liquid ocean underneath the surface. So maybe life. And the question is, could you get life on like a planet like Jupiter? We don't know. Maybe, maybe not. We don't know, but probably not Earth-like life. So usually for life on they usually talk about Europa, Enceladus, maybe Titan, which has lots of organic material, and Mars are the places we're looking for life with probably the most. And most of the research that people do is to look for life on those planets.
And didn't we find recently in our solar system, and correct me if I'm wrong, I'm just remembering, another planet beyond Pluto? Did we find something beyond
we found small planets like bodies, but they're looking for a big planet beyond Pluto. No, they haven't discovered yet, and people are arguing, does it exist or does it not exist? So Pluto's not considered a planet anymore. They found other bodies similar in size to Pluto out there, but they haven't found anything bigger that they would consider what we call the ninth planet.
Caitlin says, have you heard of the 13th planet? Of 13
Yeah, I think I've heard of it. I don't think there's any evidence because now we have 8 planets. We have Mercury, Venus, Earth, Mars, Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, Neptune. And then we have what we call dwarf planets like Pluto, Ceres, Eris. But there are stories that there could be other bodies just super far away that are far out there, but there's really no evidence. They're looking for them, but they haven't found these yet. So as of today, we only have the 8 planets. And then Pluto and these other bodies, Haumea, Makemake, are considered dwarf planets. They're smaller. They haven't what's called cleared their neighborhood. They aren't the biggest object in their part of the solar system. But there's all these bodies out there, and they're finding all that we've discovered over like 4,000 extra solar planets as of today, over 4,000. So we're discovering things all the time. So it's possible we'll discover more things. Like Pluto was only discovered like in 1930.
Oh, I didn't even know that.
Yeah. So Pluto,
Caitlin is saying Nibiru.
Yeah, I've heard about that, but I don't think there's any scientific evidence for it. So it could exist, but people talk about them. There's no scientific evidence it exists. Maybe it exists.
You know, it's funny because you're talking about planets as far as Pluto, and we talk about traveling in, like you said, in maybe 100 years or what have you, to these other planets. Oh, wait, hold on one second. Stryker says planet Vegeta. Vegeta. V-E-G-E-T, Vegeta.
I haven't heard of that planet. There's a body called Vesta, which is the one. It's one of the biggest asteroids, but I haven't heard of Vegeta. There's all these other bodies we don't know about out there, and we're discovering all the time. That's the one thing about astronomy: you discover these things all the time. So these bodies are being discovered every day. You read something where they have a new astronomical discovery.
That's so interesting. You know, and we were talking about like you traveling, and you said it's so much easier in movies and in film on television than it is in real life. And for us to go to some place as far as Pluto, I'm just curious because I was reading on this thing when they were talking about Einstein, and he was saying, you know, E equals mc squared. Energy is the speed of mass times the speed of light squared, right? So the further we go away from the planet, we can actually slow down time or perception of time, because they didn't hypothetically they were saying if there's twins, and one twin stays on the Earth and the other twin goes in a spaceship far away, the time actually slows down for the twin that's in space. And then when the twin were to come back down, the twin that was in space actually aged at a slower rate than the twin that was on the Earth. So with that in mind, as we travel further on to other parts of the galaxy, will time be manipulated and time actually slow down for the people that go further away from the Earth's atmosphere and the Earth's gravitational pull?
If you go the people on the spacecraft, the closer you travel the speed of light, you slow down the time, so you don't experience the time. So that helps. They used that kind of like in this Planet of the Apes, where they were going in. There was some type of time dilation where time is slowed down for them, and they had gone in the future. So so that may help you, but that's the problem is if you go, but you need to get really close to the speed of light to have it a big effect. And we haven't figured out how to go faster than the speed even close to the speed of light yet. We're still going relatively slow. So in the movies, you actually can go faster than the speed of light, which makes life a lot easier when you want to observe other planets.
Yeah, well, and then also another problem too right now, I guess, that we have is when you're talking about the possibility of going into suspended animation or some type of torpor in order to be able to slow the body down to be able to withstand that much of a time, then right now the problem is, isn't it when we put the body into suspended animation or we freeze you or put you in cryogenically, that your cells can't withstand it, and the actual cell will burst because of a temperature difference. So we're not able to really put people into that type of suspended animation and bring them out yet.
As of today, we can't do it. Most of the stuff you see in science fiction, it hasn't happened yet, but I'm sure they're working on it. Like if you watch the old Star Trek, you could see they had the tricorders, and they could put something up to you and be able to just learn what's wrong with you. And like the tricorder, when you could talk to other people, it's kind of like a cell phone. So all this stuff that they have, there's no teleportation yet. They can't teleport you to different places yet, because it was so much easier in the Star Trek to go from the planet to the spacecraft. You could just teleport. We haven't been able to do that, but they're working on it. So maybe a lot of stuff could happen, maybe it can't, but they're all trying to work on it. So a lot of the stuff you see in the science fiction is where we want to go. So like being able to freeze people, it'd be great to be able to do it, slow down your biological clock, but we haven't been able to do it yet. So I'm sure they're working on it, but these things usually take time. Everyone thought we'd have like flying cars. There's no flying cars yet, all these things. So even when they go from New York to California to LA, it still takes about 5 hours or so in the plane, even though with all the technological advances, we don't go much faster than what we were able to do, like probably in the 60s and 70s. So we're making advances, but nothing like what we can see in the science fiction movies. So that's why we like science fiction, but it's a way for us to kind of dream about how we would like to do this.
Well, you know, you mentioned Star Trek. It's so funny because I remember they used to have like Captain Kirk would talk into something that looks like this and say do this, and now we have this. You know, and before we were watching the original Star Trek in the '60s, they thought, oh, well, you know, that's far off, and now we have it. And aren't they working on flying cars right now?
Yeah, I'm sure they're working on flying cars. It's just difficult. I mean, they're working about like self-driving cars, and they're working on it. So maybe sooner or later, well, you won't even have to drive your own car. But it's a problem because and the computers are having to be able to drive and to get smarter, but the human can react a lot much better than a computer in some situations. So that's the question: is can the computer ever get good enough where you don't need the person? Could it fly a plane for you? They have the automatic pilot, but could it do the whole flying the plane? Would you trust it?
Right.
That's yeah.
Actually, you brought up a good point about, I was going to ask you about AI, because I know like with the landing on Mars with the rover recently, how are they able to control? I mean, it's millions of miles away. What are they using to be able to control?
They send commands there. They send commands, and when they send a command to Mars, they also test it before they send it because they don't want to do anything. But they'll send a command. They have these programs. They upload it, and it's able to control. But that's the problem is it will take months and months for it to cross like kilometers and kilometers. It's very slow because you want to be very careful. They send commands there, and I think there's ways on the thing where it can look for obstacles, but we're still at the infancy with like robots really acting like the robots we see on like television or movies, really like C-3PO, and they're just not that technologically advanced where they can do that.
Well, but how are they able to send signals millions of miles from JPL here to operate the rover on
radio
Mars?
Antennas. They send the signal from radio and it's able to pick it up. It's just like they're able to send a command using radio waves, and then can send it to the spacecraft and the thing. There is a delay because it takes 8 minutes for light to go from the sun to the Earth, and the Mars is maybe about it's about, when it's close, it's about 0.4 AU. So it'll take a few minutes. So you send a command it travels at the speed of light. It'll take about 3 minutes or so to get to the spacecraft. There's always a delay. When it sends pictures back to Earth, it takes the picture, then there's a delay of a few minutes.
Over the speed of light.
But they're able to send it there. They're able to send it. And then they also have other spacecraft in orbit, I think, that relay the messages. So they do have other spacecraft so they can get the message and send it down. They're very good at it. They've done it for many years, so they're able to get it up. But that's the problem, is if you were to send people there, you would make sure you want to connect with them. You want to have all this stuff. Like on the Martian, he just had the potatoes to grow, but you have to make oxygen because the atmosphere of Mars is like carbon dioxide. You want to make sure you have food because the Martian soil is not that great for growing. It's not like the soil of Earth where it has all these like nutrients, so it's difficult. So the Martian, I think, was as accurate as possible, trying to show that he could have survived on Mars at least for a short amount of time.
Well, the International Space Station is not as far as Mars. How close is the International Space Station? It's just outside of our orbit.
I think it's hundreds of thousands of kilometers. It's in orbit, so it's not that far, but I assume it would just take like a few hours to get there. I'm not sure in the exact time. But if you have an issue, you could get someone back. And I think they must have like an escape vehicle if some major problem occurs that they could get back to Earth. But the problem is, like in Mars, if you have an issue, it's going to take like 8 or 9 months to get stuff to you. So it's difficult.
Right.
That's the problem in the movie, is you try to cut costs or cut things, and then you could have a problem when you send it there. So it's difficult sooner or later we'll go to Mars, but it's going to be a while because it's dangerous. And if you go there, you want to be able to bring the people back.
Right. Stryker was saying, I guess regards into the other planet he was talking about, it doesn't exist anymore because it was destroyed by Frieza Caitlin. And then Caitlin goes, yeah, I'm aware of that child's cartoon. So he must have been making a joke about a cartoon.
Okay, yeah.
And then Stryker says, oh, yeah, like this is really interesting. Stryker asks, why is it that Alaska has 2 months of darkness in the winter? Is it because it's closer outside of the elliptical of the Earth?
Yeah, it's the farther because of the way the Earth's orbit is inclined. So it's summers, it gets mostly daylight, but during the winters, because it's so close, you're getting it's so north, you don't get much sun, so its days are going to be really short. So it's the problem is because where it's located on the Earth, like our summers are Australia's winters, and Australia's summers are our winters. Right, where the days are shorter. Because Alaska is so north, it just doesn't get a lot of daylight during the winter, but during the summers, it'll have much longer, like summer days, I believe.
Is it true, speaking of Australia, that our water, when you flush the toilet, it goes clockwise? Does it go counterclockwise?
Yeah, I hear
What is that?
I'm never sure if it's true or not. I've seen that story where it flushes differently and things. I'm not sure. I've heard different things on that. That I've never tested. I've never been to Australia, so one of the things I want to test when I go down there.
Definitely. And when you're in Alaska, can you explain the phenomenon of the Aurora Borealis, the northern lights?
Well, those are what's the northern lights. What happens is the Earth has a magnetic field. It collects charged particles, and the charged particles. So it keeps the charged particles from hitting the Earth, which is good because you don't want to be hit by charged particles. But what happens is it's the charged particles are going down in the atmosphere because the Earth's magnetic field comes out of the poles, and it brings the charged particles into the atmosphere. And I think it interacts with the molecules in the atmosphere, and it kind of lights them up, and then you see these northern lights. I have never seen the northern lights, but if you go north enough, and sometimes they appear a little more southerly, you can actually see them. But here they look really cool.
So do you think, and I think that brings up a good question, that a lot of atmospheric phenomenon or things that people could be seeing and construing to be UFOs, or what do you think the things are that people are seeing? Because somebody, even, President Jimmy Carter was somebody who said he thought he saw a UFO. Very credible people throughout the course of time have said that they've seen these strange things. What do you think that they're attributing them to?
Yeah, there's just weird things sometimes you see in the sky, maybe weird planes. A UFO is just unidentified flying object. There's no real evidence of any spacecraft, not like Independence Day. I've never seen any evidence, no evidence that's come out. They used to have the show In Search of, where they would talk about ancient aliens. If you look up in the sky, sometimes you'll see something weird, maybe like a meteor or something weird, and you just don't know what it is. So that's a UFO, but there's no evidence that they have to do with aliens or spacecraft.
Right. On our planet here on Earth, there's the belief that the mass of land, the land mass was once Pangea, which was one large mass, and then slowly over time, over new global tectonics or tectonics, the masses started to divide out. Is this one? Do you believe that? And then two, is that for all planets, where if they do have pieces of some water and some land, that they slide and move over the course of time?
Yeah, it's evidence, because you'll find you can put Africa and North America together, and then you can see fossils of similar type on both continents, and then they kind of start diverging. So there's a lot of evidence now that all the continents were once together. You need what's called plate tectonics, and it doesn't appear on Venus doesn't really seem to have plate tectonics, where the upper layer, which is kind of rigid, is floating on a more molten lower layer. There's a lithosphere, and it's floating on what's called the asthenosphere. The plate tectonics may occur on other planets, but Venus doesn't appear to have plate tectonics. They're not. I don't think most of the time they don't think Mars is. And the question is, you need these plate tectonics where this is one of the reasons we have volcanoes. The plates are actually moving around. We have earthquakes in California. You need it maybe to keep on recycling the crust, and maybe that's one of the reasons we have life. You don't know, but these Pangea seems to exist, that the continents were once together, that the continents were moving on the Earth.
Do you think that new global plate tectonics here on Earth cause certain places that used to be under the ocean to become land? Because I know that a part of the middle part of the country, people assume were covered by a warm, shallow sea due to the fossils that were found in areas that are now dry, where echinoderms, like they're like sea urchins and brittle stars and starfish in places that are like now in the middle of America.
Yeah, yeah, the climate changed because like areas like even around here, there were dinosaurs. So because we were different areas, maybe water was stable on the area, and then maybe you will go to a different part and you just, the climate probably changed in different parts because the thing, I think even in Antarctica, they have evidence it was more like tropical there. So they're moving around. So where we are, so in the past, the continents were at different places. So the fossils you find, they reflect that they were very different, that the climate was very changed. Like we maybe didn't have the New England winters. There were dinosaurs that lived around. Where I live, there's like evidence of like dinosaur footprints, where you actually see like footprints of dinosaurs. So dinosaurs were roaming around. So I'm sure it was a lot more tropical here in the past.
Right, right. Caitlin asks, would you, Tom, ever want to spend some time in outer space?
No, I don't. I think it's a lot of hard work. I know a few astronauts, and I guess it's amazing, but I don't know if I really want to go. I might be fun to go for like a day or two. I don't know if it'd be fun. I think it's a lot of work to go there, but maybe you go for like a few days. But I don't know if I want to spend like years in space.
Well, I know like that astronaut training is pretty rigorous because they put you in those centrifuges. And
yeah.
Explain that to us. Explain to the audience the concept of when you're in a centrifuge and you've got all those G-forces. Can you explain that and why people like pass out and why we can't handle a strong G-force? Why the human body can't handle that?
Yeah, I think because we're built for our 1G. 1G is acceleration of gravity 9.8. And I think they put it in because they want to just make sure they're try to get them used to any conditions they can exhibit in space, either no G's or lots of G's, maybe when you're going to spacecraft. I think the body is very conditioned to our gravity. It's built for our gravity. And it's a problem like in space, your bone density gets less because the effect of gravity is so much smaller. And so we're built for 1G. We're not built for 2G. Like if you went to another planet where on the moon it's like 1/6 the gravity, but if you go to like Jupiter, the gravity is much stronger. We're built for just our gravity, and other gravitational forces on other planets we're not used to. So that's why if you grow up on another planet, you're probably going to be different because your body's going to be built for the gravity of that planet.
Right, and then our gravity may seem extremely heavy for them versus and vice versa. I know, like, explain weightless, zero gravity, zero G, because I know that they have these planes where the plane will actually fly in a parabola, and at the top of the parabola going down, you can experience for a few moments of actual weightlessness. So explain how weightlessness is in outer space, its effect on the human body, and how do we become weightless like that?
Yeah, well, I know for the spaceship, well, gravity is just a force. It's a force on you. So if you're going in a plane and you're able to counteract that force, you'll be weightless. So all gravity is a force. It's an attractive force. But if you're able to counteract that force, you'll be weightless. So it's just all it is just a force on you. So you're able to counteract that. Like when you're going around, you're kind of like falling. You're away from the Earth's gravity, and you just need to be able to counteract the force. And if you counteract the force, you're pretty much weightless. So there's nothing really special about gravity. It's just a force on you that's attracting you in a particular direction.
Right. And also I know that all things here, at least in this solar system, are finite. So how long do you think, or what do scientists predict, for example, the sun? Because I know the sun is just a big mass of hydrogen and helium, basically. So when do they expect that? One, how old is it? And two, when do they expect that to eventually burn out?
Well, the sun is going to die out maybe 5 billion years from now. It's probably about halfway through its lifetime. So in about 5 billion years, it'll die out. It'll end up as a white dwarf. So everything is finite. They think our universe maybe could last who knows, but all the stars will sooner or later die out because they only have finite lifetimes. So nothing lasts forever. So we don't last forever. Stars can last like billions or tens or even hundreds of billions of years, but they can't last forever. Sooner or later, they use up all their fuel, and then they die. So sooner or later, some will die. It's going to be about 5 billion years from now, so it won't be relatively soon. But sooner or later, we'll use up all its fuel in the core, and then it will become like a red giant, and then we'll end up as a white dwarf.
What is the difference between for those who don't know, what is a red dwarf and a white giant?
Red. A red giant is, the red tells you the color, the temperature. So the sun will start expanding out, and it'll use up its fuel. So the outside layer will become much colder. So it'll be a much bigger object than the star, bigger star than the sun, but it'll be colder. A white dwarf is a very compact material where it doesn't really have it's hot, but it isn't creating energy for fusion. It'll be about the size of the Earth. So it'll be about the sun's mass of the same size as the Earth. So it'll be really hot on the surface, very compact, very dense, and it'll be really small. So you take the sun and you compact it. So when a star like the sun dies, it becomes a white dwarf. Bigger stars become either neutron stars or black holes.
How interesting. I didn't know that. And hold on one second. Stryker asks, why is it that planes are not allowed to fly over Antarctica?
I think it's possible. They do have planes that go to Antarctica. They pick up meteorites there. It's possible maybe they don't want to contaminate it by all the engine exhaust. Another thing is maybe if there's any incident. I'm not sure why. I know they do fly planes there because they put people there to like pick up meteorites, but maybe maybe they don't go far in the interior. So I'm not sure if that's true. I know people fly planes to Antarctica, so I don't know why they can't fly the whole way over it.
Right.
I'm not sure on that answer.
And for those of you who are just joining us, I'm Candace Kita. I'm your host, and welcome to Sway TV. We have a very special guest today. We have astronomer. He is an astronomer and an educator, a professor on the East Coast, Tom Burbine. He's the winner of a Chambliss Award, and he's written an amazing book on astronomy. So we're just talking to him here today. And we were just talking about the sun, and you're saying that it's at a half-life right now, and it'll probably burn out in 5 billion years. And then what would happen to the rest of the solar system, including Earth?
Well, Mercury and Venus, I think it'll expand out and will destroy them. Earth, they're not sure of. And then the rest of the planets will probably stay in some type of orbit, but they'll probably survive. Earth is probably close to being destroyed or not. So that'll be the question, will Earth make it through this red giant phase? I think the other planets will probably stay in orbit, Mars, Jupiter, Saturn, and Uranus, and Neptune. So I think they'll still be around, but Mercury and Venus, I think, will be destroyed by the expanding sun.
Just because we're so close.
Yeah, we're so close. Earth is like right on the border. It's not very exact, so it could be destroyed. Maybe it won't be destroyed, but there probably will be no life on it. It'll probably be maybe the expansion will probably fry maybe some of the surface to the crisp. We'll be right at the edges and stuff. So I think it won't be good for the Earth. So the question is, at that time, will we be able to move the Earth? Who knows in 5 billion years what the technology, will humans still be around? We don't know these things.
Well, and that's a really good question because, for us to be able to conceive of a time beyond humans being on the Earth, because like I said, 98.9% of all species that have ever been on the planet have gone extinct. So it doesn't necessarily mean that we would think that we would be an exception to that. So there could be a time, and for us to be able to envision that, where we are one species that will eventually also become extinct, and the Earth will continue on. It's
we
hard.
don't know. Yeah, we don't know. Things have lasted, but like things like trilobites, everything seems to become extinct. But maybe bacteria, there are things that probably existed that are very similar at the thing, but they're very simple organisms. Any complicated organisms don't seem to survive forever. So that's the question. But we supposedly have intelligence. Does that make a difference? We don't know. So it could be, we don't know these things. But at least we know these things are coming. So maybe we could plan ahead.
Well, and also, I mean, I wonder if some organisms kind of become other things through evolution too, because you mentioned trilobites, and trilobites to me look a lot like sow bugs and pill bugs and arthropods that are under the ocean. Arthropods really look like trilobites today, and they're living. So maybe there's a way that things are going to continue, but just like in a different form. But clearly, I think majority of species on the Earth have already become extinct, and so for us to say that we wouldn't be, it could be just a huge presumption. That there could be a time. How old is the Earth again, Tom?
What? The Earth is about 4.6 billion years old.
Yeah, so to think for us to even, we're so finite for us to be able to even comprehend 4.6 billion years old Earth, for us to even be able to comprehend beyond that, that there clearly could be a time before we're not even here on this planet anymore.
Yeah, we don't know. We only live in a short time, maybe 100 years or so. And stars last millions of years. Some stars last billions and tens or hundreds of billions of years. So our lifetime is just so short. We're learning a lot, but who knows what the future will hold, and how things change. Now we have like cell phones, computers, all these things are relatively recent. So where will technology go? Can the human survive? These are all the questions we won't know the answer for. So everything, but that's why we have this science fiction, because people love talking and dreaming about these things.
Oh, definitely. Even if we don't get to see them, in our lifetime. And I was wondering too, you were saying that the sun, and this is, I want to grasp my head around it as well. The sun is going to eventually become a black hole. For those of you who don't know out there, can you describe what exactly is a black hole, and how does the sun?
Yeah, our sun will become a white dwarf. Our sun will become a white dwarf. A black hole is a body so massive that gravity is so strong that light can't escape. So it's a thing. So big stars tend to become black holes, like big, massive stars, like Betelgeuse-sized stars. Big stars may become black holes. So our sun is not massive enough to become a black hole when it dies, but all the mass kind of falls on top of each other. It starts contracting and contracting due to gravity. And the gravitational, it gets a radius where time you go in the radius of this object, you can't get fast enough to escape gravity. So what's called the escape velocity. So black holes are just super dense objects that seem to exist. Our galaxy seems to have a supermassive black hole in the center.
Really?
Yeah. And most galaxies seem to have these big black holes in the center. They don't know why they exist. Did the galaxy come first, or did the black hole come first? They don't understand. But these black holes almost seem to exist. They were able to image like a black hole, a big consortium, like a few years ago. So these black holes were originally thought to be theoretical objects, and these are things that we now pretty sure exist.
Where do you think, as a scientist, matter originated?
No, they think there was a Big Bang which created the universe, but they don't really understand why the Big Bang occurred. Everything fits with the Big Bang, with all the most of the galaxy and universe are moving away from us.
The universe is expanding.
The universe is expanding. This was done by Hubble, was able to come up with this by looking at our galaxy. They're all red. Most galaxies are redshifted. The universe seems to expand. If you look at the background temperature of the universe, it's very homogeneous. So it seems that a Big Bang occurred. We don't really understand anything of what happened before the Big Bang. Well, and there are other Big Bangs that occur. So we don't know what the fate of the universe is. Will the universe contract again, become another Big Bang, or will it just keep on expanding forever?
Well, I think you brought up a good point where you say you don't know what happened. We don't know what happened before the Big Bang, because I know before, if there's no matter, if matter was created by the Big Bang, was there time before the Big Bang? Because I think that time, it could be defined as the distance between two objects. Because if you only have one object, we don't have another object to get to, is there the concept of time? So if there's no matter in the universe, was there actual time before the Big Bang?
Yeah, because the Big Bang, the theory is that the whole matter in the whole universe was in a single point and they expanded out. It's very difficult to do. We don't understand really the physics behind it. I think all the laws of physics break down. So this is what we believe. Most scientists believe that, but I don't think we really understand that. They're making progress, but it's very difficult to wrap around because I think the laws of physics just break down. What was time? Probably time didn't exist as the way we know it, but we don't really understand what happened.
Yeah, because I think there has to be matter and there has to be objects in order for us to define and clarify time. So if you take away the concept of matter, because the matter was not here before Big Bang, then there was nothing, then was there anything to calibrate time? You know? You have
They don't know if there was time before, but they think all the matter was in one point in the universe, the whole matter in the universe. So this thing was like infinitely dense, and then it just started to expand out in this big event. And after time, atoms started to be able to create, the four forces were created, the atoms were created, stars were created, then galaxies were created, and then we were created. So we don't know. And all the laws of physics that we have are tuned kind of to have life. Maybe the laws of physics in another universe are different. So this is what people think about all the time, but they really, it's very difficult physics. I've read some of it, but it's really hard to understand.
It's very complicated because even think for us here on Earth, we think of time as a fixed component. And then because of matter going away from the gravitational pull of the Earth, how that can actually affect the concept and slow time down. It's very hard for me to grasp, but it's like the further we go away from the planet, it seems to be that time is perceived as slower than it is here on Earth. So, but once again, having to do with matter. Andrew says, Candace, hello. How are you today? We're doing great. Thank you so much, Andrew, for joining us today. I am with scientist extraordinaire Tom Burbine, and we are talking about the universe, planets, solar systems, and other things. So we're so excited for you to join us today. And for you guys who are just joining us today, go ahead and hit that follow button. Hit the follow button here at Sway TV. Andrew is doing awesome today. Andrew, do you have any... Oh, Star Michael is there saying hello to us. Good morning. How are you? How have you been? You guys, Michael, Andrew, do you have any questions here for Tom Burbine? He is a noted astronomer. He's a professor on the East Coast, and he's talking about, Andrew asks, Tom, what are your thoughts about the rover going to Mars? We had just talked about it, but go ahead and talk about it for some of the new viewers who are just joining in.
Yeah, it's an amazing feat that they were able to put this rover on Mars. And I think it's groundbreaking. And if they can, they're going to actually put the samples in like these little containers and then get the samples back to Earth. Hopefully in the next decade, it will be great to study these objects, the Martian samples right on Earth, and we're going to learn some more. It's amazing what they'll discover. They're going to explore this. I think it's for the crater, and they're going to try to learn, was there water on Mars? And they have amazing experiments. The team is amazing. It's just great, and the pictures have been amazing too, that they can get the picture of this surface, this barren landscape. So it's an amazing mission.
Well, you know, actually now, because there's other viewers too, why don't we talk about, the reason why Tom is here in the first place, and we've been talking about great stuff, is, you know, he has an amazing book, and you can find it here on Amazon. So why don't you let's talk about the title of it, what the book is about, and to go into some detail about what is inside this book.
Yeah, it's a book. It's called Asteroids, Astronomical and Geological Bodies. It's one I wrote like a few years ago because there was no good like introductory book on asteroids. So I wanted to write a book to try to get people interested in asteroids because this is like the golden age of asteroid science. There's so many missions going to asteroids. We're learning so much more about asteroids. So I thought, let me try to write a book because there hadn't been a good book on asteroids for many, many, many years. So I wanted to try, and I was able to get a contract with Cambridge University Press, and it came out a few years ago. And the problem when you write a book, the minute you write it goes out of date because there's so many discoveries. But it's a good way to get learn more about asteroids. And then if you want to do the subject for a career or for a hobby, I'm hoping it's a good book to read. There's actually like practice questions in the book. If you do the practice questions, I have the answers. I can email you the answers. I taught a class with it, and two of my students. I told the students, if you find any errors in the book, I'll give you like an extra point. And then two of the students, they were sisters, all they did was find errors. So I even have a correction sheet where you can go and little corrections, little problems in the book. You can use the correction sheet to actually fix any errors. If I do a second edition, if I'm ever allowed to, I'll fix all the errors. But I do have a correction sheet. But it's a good introduction to asteroids. I tried to make it readable, and I tried to make it easy to understand.
Oh, awesome. We had a couple questions. I'm going to answer one. Utechpia, I think, is going to be on later on today, probably around 12 or 12:30, if that helps. That's awesome. David Nguyen, who is Utechpia. So we encourage you to go over his channel and check it out. And then Andrew said, we are merely a speck of dust in the entire solar system. Caitlin agreed and said, totally. And then Kike said he agreed too. Andrew asks you a question, Tom. There is even more galaxies than are kind of like, are there more galaxies that are like ours? Which leads to the question, is there other life out there?
Yeah, they're most likely life. There are hundreds of billions of galaxies, maybe trillions of galaxies. And we're a barred spiral galaxy. There's other barred spiral. There's most certainly life out there, but finding it is difficult because the distances are just huge. So I don't know if we'll be able to go to other galaxies anytime soon or even later, but there's billions or trillions of galaxies they seem out there. What they do is the Hubble will take an image of the sky, and they'll just sit on an image where there's no other stars for like days or weeks, and then they count the number of galaxies in the image, and then they'll extrapolate to the whole sky. When you do that, you see there seems to be lots and lots of galaxies. The fainter you see in the sky, the more galaxies you see. So it's amazing how many galaxies seem to be out there, more than we can even imagine.
What is a bark spiral galaxy, just for us who don't know?
Our galaxy is a spiral. Well, there's these spiral arms. A barred spiral is there's like from the centers, there's like a bar of a material, bar of stars, and then the spirals come out from the bar.
Oh, got it. Awesome.
Yeah.
So now, yeah, going back to your book, you specifically decided to talk about asteroids and meteorites. Why did you hone in on them as opposed to other astronomical bodies?
I talk about comets too, but the reason I focused on them is there wasn't a real good like textbook or introductory book on asteroids. So that's what I worked on. That's what I find interesting. So I thought that'd be a good book to get because there wasn't another book on the market that was a good introduction to those objects.
Oh, awesome. And then so Andrew said, my grammar's sorry. He's waking up in the morning and his grammar is bad. No worry, Andrew. We understood what you were talking about. Kike is asking about Utechpia, who I think is going to be on around 12 or 12:30 today. And then Caitlin agrees with you. She said it seems impossible with all the turns of events that can happen that, we are just not equipped yet to even be able to understand. I guess how we're able to contact other life, or do you think there's a possibility conversely that we don't have the capability yet, but do you think perhaps there's other life in other parts of the universe that might have the capability to be monitoring or watching us?
Yeah. There's this thing called the Fermi paradox. If life is so abundant, Enrico Fermi asked, life is so abundant, why don't we go see it? We don't see it. It could be a question of time. Like maybe there were civilizations that lived and died out, and they just haven't. We don't see the evidence for them. Like if at the Roman Empire time, they wouldn't have the technology to look for life. So you need the right time, or maybe aliens came back in the past and we weren't equipped, and they just haven't come back since. So we don't know. There's also a time factor. Like our galaxy is probably around like 13 billion years. Maybe civilizations lived and died out. We're just the latest one, and we just don't see the evidence for it. Or maybe there is life on another part of the galaxy, and it just takes too long for the radio waves, the information to go from one planet to another. So we're waiting because we've been only sending out radio waves 50, 100 years or so. So anybody who's listening for life on us would not have, if they're 200 light years away, they wouldn't have heard us yet. So there's also a time factor. There's all these things. We don't really know anything. So all these things are options. So it's called the Fermi paradox. If life is abundant like in the galaxy, why don't we see it? And there's all these explanations. So, and there's also another thing called the Drake equation, where they try to predict how many extraterrestrial civilizations could exist in the galaxy that we could come in contact with. And none of the factors in the equation are known. So life could be abundant or life could be very rare. We don't know. And these are the things we're trying to learn by discovering other planets and sending signals and listening for other signals.
Right. I think, like you said, it's two things. It's a twofold. It's us looking for other people or other civilizations, and then maybe them looking for us. Stryker asked, has Thomas heard about supposedly discovering a lost city beneath the surface of Antarctica, which is inhabited by beings with much more technological ability than we have?
Yeah, there's been stories like science fiction and stuff. And there was like Atlantis, I think, where Aquaman's from. So it's not, I don't know. There's no evidence for it, but they're very good stories and they're interesting, but there's no evidence these things exist. So if they do exist, it'd be great. I've never seen any evidence or no scientific work on them. So
right. And then Andrew asks, in an almanac formed in 2019, it has a picture, in an almanac from 2019, it has a picture showing humans on Mars. Do you think any time in the future humans could possibly colonize Mars?
Yeah, I think we could colonize Mars. I don't know when the time scale is. The earliest might be the 2030s, but it could be 50 years. We just haven't gone. You would think everyone thought we'd be at Mars already. If you look back in the 1950s or 60s or even 70s, it has happened. So it's slow. I'm sure sooner or later we will colonize it, but it may not occur in the near future. Hopefully in our lifetimes, but you never know.
You were just talking about history and like having like everything to line up for us to be able to even identify and understand possible civilizations from other outer space coming to Earth. What about things, I've always been curious about this, things like in Peru, Machu Picchu, and then also like in South America, the Nazca Lines, things that seem to be our civilizations didn't have the technology at the time to be able to create Nazca Lines because nobody could see from up above, or the ability that they were able to, the ancient Aztecs were able to create Machu Picchu. Do you think it could have some influence?
I think they always talk about maybe aliens help with them, but I think these ancients were able to build things, and they're just a lot of work. If you have enough people, and you can build pretty much anything. And so I think there's no evidence that there was any aliens effort into building them. I think if you have enough people, and you can pretty much build anything. So I think they were more technologically advanced in this like stonemasonry than we could imagine. So I think they were able to do it. I know people talk about that the aliens helped build these things. I don't think there's any real evidence, because I think you can build them with even present day technology, but it's just super difficult work. So I'm sure they took years and years to build, and they had thousands of people working on these projects. Like
the pyramids.
Yeah, the pyramids and things. And I'm sure the work safety, they didn't really worry about the safety of the workers. So it was one of those things, you can do stuff like that. So even though they didn't have a machinery, you can build stuff just stone. It's just super duper difficult.
Well, I get to have the technology to be able to do that, because they didn't have the advanced technology or the machines. But Andrew said the ancients used simple machines to build stuff. And then Stryker said there was a new line discovered in Nazca last year, I believe. Do you know what that is, Tom or Stryker? Can you tell us what was the new Nazca line that was discovered?
Yeah, I'm not sure, but with simple technology, simple machines, you can do a lot. You can move stuff. It's just super difficult, and it's super dangerous and super hard, but it is possible. So I think there's no real evidence that they got some extraterrestrial help, but people still believe. I know people do believe that.
Well, I know people believe that also with Easter Island, right? Because I mean, some of the materials
Easter Island
that they were using, and
how you can move that stuff. But I think it's possible to do. if you Carl Sagan said if you want to believe in something like extraordinary, you need extraordinary evidence. The problem is it is possible to do it with the technology you had at the time. It wasn't impossible. So that's the thing is, so I've seen no evidence where you need the aliens to do it. I'm sure machinery today would be easier to do it, but I think they could do it at that time. It wasn't impossible.
It was just extraordinarily difficult because I know actually.
It just.
Go ahead, Tom.
Yeah, it was just super difficult to build it. So there was nothing there that wasn't possible for them to do. I think that's the main thing. If you really want to believe it, you really need to do something that was impossible. And I don't think any of these things were impossible.
Right, just extraordinarily difficult. Andrew says simple machines, things like pulleys, wedges, inclined plane levers, etc. So they were using simple tools, but I guess, like you said, they had the gumption and the probably, like you said, blood, sweat, and tears to be able to create the pyramids. And Stryker, once again, if you know about the new Nazca line that was discovered, I find that absolutely fascinating. But how were they able to do the, and that's why people talk about aliens, how were they able to understand the mathematical equations and everything needed to build something like the pyramids? Because, I mean, that was much more
I think their math was much better than we thought. They didn't have computers, but they understood mathematical concepts, and I'm sure they were able to figure out these things, and maybe they aligned them with the stars. So I think their math was much better than we thought for actually building these things. So I think just because they're ancients, they knew the math. They were able to understand like simple shapes, and all these things are based in like ancient Greek, all the ancient trigonometry and geometry. So I think they understood these things much better than we can imagine they could.
Right. And then also recently to even see, Easter Island, I read that a lot of the big faces, the monoliths, they actually look down and they're not just sitting there now that they've discovered that they actually go down into the earth, that they're actually dug down into the earth, which is even more of a mechanical feat that they were able to do that back then. They don't even understand how they did it, No,
I agree totally. It's difficult, but I don't think it's impossible. So if you want to invoke aliens, you need to do something that's pretty much impossible to do. And I don't think we found these things. They're just extremely difficult. They would take years and years. They're super hard. I'm sure many, many people died during the building of these things, but it's not impossible. So I think it's kind of false to say that they have to be built by aliens. I don't think there's no evidence for that.
Right. Stryker answered the question. He said that the new Nazca line they found was a humanoid-shaped glyph. That is really interesting. I didn't know anything about that, but I'll definitely look at it. Thank you so much, Stryker, for letting us know. And Caitlin said, yes, I'm sure there were casualties in the days of old when constructing those wondrous megaliths. I'm sure there were, because I know that, didn't they build the pyramids using a lot of slave labor at the time? To be able
I think it's all forced labor, and that was the thing, and I'm sure they had thousands of people doing it. So if you have all these people, you can do these things. It's just difficult. They didn't have the machines to like bring things. They couldn't put it on a big truck, but if you could move it with just simple pulleys, you could see big logs to be able to roll things. All these things, they do work. It's super difficult. So I'm sure they had lots of practice and they knew what they were doing, much more than we probably can even imagine.
Right. And for those of you guys who are just joining us, we're talking to Tom Burbine. He's a noted astronomer. He is also a professor on the East Coast. He wrote a great book that's available here on Amazon. And, let's talk a little bit more about your book because, Stryker says it's actually not one line, but 143 new Nazca lines.
Interesting.
Yes, that is absolutely amazing. And, a lot of people also surmise that they were actually trying to reach ancient aliens by showing these lines and showing these images. He said, using artificial technology, a team of scientists have found 143 new Nazca lines, including glyphs of humans, animals, and abstract shapes etched in the Peruvian desert floor. An impressive, newly discovered humanoid Nazca line. And I wonder if the humanoid, who are they trying to reach? Because many people were saying that they thought that they were trying to reach ancient aliens by drawing these Nazca lines.
Yeah, I don't know. And you don't know if were they trying to reach aliens or did they have another reason? It'd be interesting to go back to them and try to understand them because everyone who made them is long gone. So.
Yeah, no, definitely. Thank you so much for sharing that, Striker, though, because it's information that both of us didn't know. So now, once again, let's talk about your book, Tom, and what's the name of it again, and what do you talk about in this book? Because this book is available here on Amazon for those of you who are interested in astronomy, or if you have children, maybe teenagers that are just dipping their feet into, learning about this world around us. If you really think about it, that we're on a little ball floating around and spinning around a bigger ball, a mass of hydrogen and helium in a bigger thing called the universe. It's kind of it's kind of shocking when you think about it. So please tell us about your book.
Yeah, it's called Asteroids, Astronomical and Geological Bodies, and I trying to make things simple. So I cover light, I cover gravity, near-Earth asteroids, I cover Pluto, which has a minor planet number. I cover space missions. I try to cover meteorites. I cover comets. So I try to cover all the basics. So at least to give you an introduction to asteroids and related bodies, if you wanted interested either learning about them or researching them. So yeah, it's on Amazon. I don't think it's a bestseller. The selling, if people buy a few books, it goes up to maybe 5,000th best-selling book. Sometimes if nobody buys it for a while, it's like 2 million selling books. So the sales, but it was a very good process. I learned a lot by doing it. It came out like in 2017. So it's the thing with these books is they become outdated. The minute you publish them, things start changing because they have all these missions that are now going to asteroids that are getting more data and stuff. But it's a good introduction to asteroids.
Yeah, definitely. And a good introduction also to astronomy. And Caitlin says, the machines that we have now can't do any of the things they accomplished back then. Do you think that that ancient man had some technology that was somehow lost in time? I guess basically is what is she saying. And then for some reason it was lost in time when we have yet been able to recapture that type of technology today?
Yeah, I'm sure there's stuff that they did we don't know about today. So it's hard to say, could you recreate it with present day technology? I'm sure they did things, and how they did things is probably lost. Maybe some intricate way of doing things. It's possible, but it's interesting to see. So that's why it's always interesting to study these things, because you do learn things by trying to understand how did they do things? How could they do it at the time when we're having difficulty doing the same thing? So there may be tricks that have been lost through the ages.
Yeah, that's what I wonder too. And let's talk about different bodies. You're talking about asteroids. You're talking about meteorites. I didn't know that when we always say "wish upon a star" and you see the falling star, is it true that the falling star that we see, the light that we see, the star could have actually fallen years ago? It's just taken that long for the light to come to us so we can visually see it.
Yeah, when you look at a star, you're looking at the past because light travels at the speed of light. So when you look at a star or a galaxy, it takes time. If it's 5 light years away, the star, it took 5 years for the light. If it's 100 light years away, it takes 100 years from the light to go. So something could have happened to the star. We won't know about it for 5 years. If it's a galaxy, it's 100 million light years away. It took 100 million years for light to go from the galaxy to the Earth. So it takes time because light travels. Even now, when I look at somebody, I'm looking at them in the past because it takes time for the light to go from the person to you, even though it's a very short. It takes about 8 minutes for light to go from the sun to the Earth. So the light, when you look at the sun, you're actually looking at it 8 minutes ago.
How interesting. And then, of course, there's always the controversy. Is light a particle or is light a beam? Like, do they know what light is?
Yeah, light is both a particle and a wave. It has wave properties and particle properties. So it's very weird. I don't think people really understand it. But light is both a particle and a wave. Sometimes it has more wave characteristics, some more particle. But it's vibrating. So it acts like a wave. It has a wavelength and a frequency. Radio is very long wavelength. Gamma rays are very large frequency. So it's both particle and a wave. These things are very mysterious how they really work. I don't think we really understand them, these things, but we're making progress.
And like you said, I'm probably seeing you or visualizing you a nanosecond or less because of the distance and time it's taking me to see and for the light to travel.
Yeah, it takes time for the light and the electron. The faster you can travel, speed of light. So when I hear your voice, I'm hearing you in the past. I'm looking at you in the past. It's just funny. When I see anything, it's the past because it takes time for light to get to you. But when you look at a galaxy, it could be so far away, the galaxy may not exist anymore, but we're seeing the light when it came off like hundreds of millions of years ago. When you look at a star, we're looking at maybe a star 1,000 years in the past. So all these things, nothing can travel faster than the speed of light that we know about. So when we look at a star or anything, we're looking at the past.
Well, that actually brings up a question about the quandary of the concept of now. The concept of now is manipulated too, because now is not really now. As I'm saying now is in the past. But by the same token, I think that time really is a construct of a bunch of nows that are strung together, rather than our concept of past, present, and future. The future is really going to be now. The past was nows, and so the nows are all strung together. There is no past, present, and future, just now.
Yeah, and your now is probably different from my now. It's complicated. People study these things, even philosophers study these things about time and what is it to be a person, what is time, all these things. It's complicated. It's fun to read about. I'm sure there's a lot of books on Amazon which discuss these topics.
Right, because I think also for the human brain to be able to perceive the concept of now, it's past the actual now. For us to be able to have sensory awareness, to understand what is going on around us, it's a couple nanoseconds past what has actually occurred. So anyways, it sounds real weird, but Caitlin says the machines we have now can't do the things that they accomplished back then. The architectural minds too do those things back then that had to be absolutely great. They were able to carve an entire, Petra is a good example. They were able to carve an entire city from the side of a mountain. She asks you, like, how?
Well, I'm sure you could do it. I mean, they made Mount Rushmore and things. You probably can, if you're careful enough and you know what you're doing, you probably can do it. I think you chip away. I don't think you need the aliens to make us to do any of the stuff, but that's my opinion. So it's just difficult, and people just don't do it today. I think at that time, if somebody wants something done like that, they would say do it, and they would just get it done. So.
Well, what about like Caitlin was saying, the architectural minds to, where Petra is in Jordan, for them to have been able to literally carve that out of the side of a mountain and making it so precise, as good as it would have been done today. It is kind of amazing or stultifying to see.
Yeah, it's amazing that they could do it. So I'd be interested if you could go back in time to see them done, to see how they did it. It's interesting. I don't know all the answers on that, but I think it's all possible. I don't think you need to invoke some other aliens or some other thing to do it, but it's difficult. I'm not saying it isn't difficult.
Right. Now, you also, and I want to hear more about this award, because you won in astronomy the Chambliss Award. So please tell us about that, what that is, and how you won it.
Yeah, it's the Chambliss. It's a writing award. So the American Astronomical Society give away a number of prizes. And the problem with my book, once I published it or got it published, I said, could I submit it to some awards? And the thing is, there aren't many awards that are that specific. And they have the one for like an upper level, like undergraduate textbook. So I submitted my book. I submitted it a few years ago. I didn't hear anything. And then finally I heard that I won the thing. So it's a very specialized award, but you receive like $1,000 in a medal, which was very nice. So it's a prestigious award because it's a very prestigious society. So I was very happy to get like a nice prize for writing the book. But you never know how many people apply. And I don't know if it's given out every year, if they don't like the applicants, or if nobody submits their work. So, but it's nice. It's a very big American Astronomical Society, and I would have received the award at a meeting, but because it was a virtual conference. I received it online, and then they sent me the check and the medal.
Oh, that's awesome. Andrew, your TechPia, I think, is going to be on at around 12 or 12:30 today, around his usual time. That's David Nguyen. We want to spend a special shout out to David Nguyen. Thank you so much for all the awesome support that we've been getting here at Sway TV from you and the wonderful video. We just want to say thank you. And you guys, if you haven't checked him out, please check out Utechpia, UTECHPIA. That's David Nguyen and his awesome channel. He was here supporting us yesterday, so we really appreciate it. So now, Tom, you are also a professor. So what are some of the courses that you teach, and who and where do you teach them to?
Yeah. I'm a director of our small observatory. I'm in Mount Holyoke College, and I'm a director of the observatory, and I'm a visiting professor in astronomy. So I teach classes called like the sky, where we just learn about basic things about astronomy in the sky. I've taught classes in asteroids here. At UMass Amherst, I teach an online class where we learn about the universe, and we also learn about the solar system. So I teach classes online. So all my classes now are on Zoom because
the current
it's
situation.
very difficult to teach in person just because of the pandemic.
Mm-hmm.
So I teach mainly basic astronomy classes where we learn about the planets, learn about the universe, learn about stars, learn about the sun. Just learn about basic things in astronomy, just to give the students a basic background in what's happening in the sky, how the sky moves, and also to understand what is physics behind what's happening in the universe.
And thank you, Tom, because that actually brings up a good point. And I know you had touched on it earlier, but for those of you who are just joining us right now, if people were to have children or teenagers that are interested in astronomy, and perhaps you are not going to class right now, do you have any suggestions as far as, well, obviously your book is a great place to start, but also like maybe we can't go to, your Noble Planetarium or the museum. What else would you suggest them you were talking about telescopes and all that, for them to be able to start learning?
There's two ways to do it. You can buy a telescope to look at some of the things like the Orion Nebula. You can look at the rings of Saturn. You can look at the moons of Jupiter. Or if you just get a nice book on astronomy, just about learning the constellations. If you learn the constellation and the name of the stars, it will be a huge deal. You can see Orion's visible now. You can see Polaris in the sky. All these things are visible. Cassiopeia. You can see things like Gemini. So just getting a simple book on astronomy, like $10 or $20, that talks about where the constellations are and gives you star names, you could go. Or you could even go on the internet. There's a program called Stellarium, which is a free program, which shows you the sky from your location you could use and try to identify whether the names of the stars, whether the constellations, whether the planets. You can also go out and look for meteor showers. So the main thing is just go out. You can even get an app for your phone where you could point it at a star and they'll tell you what the star name is. So all these things. So if you're interested, you could use the technology. You just need to kind of go out and start looking at the stars and trying to figure out what's going on. So just if you're interested, just a clear night, go outside, look at the sky, see what you see, and then use some app or a book to try to identify what you're seeing.
That's so funny that you mentioned that. A friend of mine showed me recently there's an app, and I don't think it's free. You do have to purchase it. But no matter where you put your phone in the sky, it'll show you the various constellations. When I was in Palm Springs, I was able to see. Palm Springs is so bright. The sky is so clear. I was there doing a job, and I was able to see Orion's belt.
You could see it.
Yeah,
you could see all these things, Orion Nebula, you could see Rigel, Betelgeuse, Bellatrix, and the thing. So you could just get the app for your phone. It might be a few dollars, and you point it at the star, and it'll tell you the star name. It'll tell you pretty interesting facts about the star. So you can use technology just on your phone to identify things in the sky.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you can see the Ursa Major, Ursa Minor, and like you said, all the great constellations out there. Andrew said you came here and donated yourself, and TechPia sent you. That's awesome, Andrew. Thank you so much. We will enter you in the giveaway that we're having on March the 8th for the $250 Amazon gift card, and we're also going to enter you, TechPia, once again into the contest that we're going to be having a giveaway for a brand new PlayStation 5. 5 on the same day. So thank you so much. And Sway TV says, we've got you, Andrew, so we're definitely putting you in. Thank you so much for doing that. And right now, you guys, we're here with astronomer extraordinaire Tom Burbine, who wrote,
thank you so much.
he wrote a great book, and it's here on Amazon. Stryker says, I believe the Nazca lines were made to be seen by deities in the sky, or they may serve some astronomical purpose. And Caitlin says the cliche is why ask why, really, because it means there aren't any answers. And like you said, Tom, there are a lot of unanswered things regarding our planet, our solar system, and our universe that we may not know, right, in our time as we are here, sitting here now. What do you think of what Stryker says about the Nazca lines were to be seen by other beings or to serve some type of astronomical purpose? What about Stonehenge? Don't they say that might be serving some type of astronomical purpose now?
I think that was lined up and to help tell the seasons, because I think in the ancients is they needed to know astronomy better than we did today, because they needed to know when the seasons were occurring, when to plant their crops, when to take their crops down, when to do different things, when to maybe move or migrate. So they knew the astronomy, because they didn't have clocks, they didn't have computers, they didn't know what time of the year it is. So they need a way, and you can use the sky to know the time of the year. So it's possible maybe they do it for aliens, or maybe they thought the gods were in the sky and they wanted to do something. So it's hard to say, but the problem is there's no real evidence aliens exist. Maybe they thought aliens existed, but there's no evidence that aliens existed that I've seen. So it's interesting to postulate, but that's the problem, is why they did these things. I don't think we really understand, because we weren't there and we're trying to put what we think is the idea. So maybe they were trying to communicate with the gods, but maybe they were gods up in the sky, and it's hard to know.
Right. Andrew said he's going to be heading back to class soon. Thank you so much, Andrew, for sticking in here with us and asking all these great questions to our special guest, Tom Burbine. Thank you. Have a wonderful, wonderful day at school, and we really, really do appreciate it. Thank you for all the really great thought-invoking questions that you gave us today. That's awesome. What about the in Machu Picchu? Didn't they also have sundials, though, that they found up there they were using to be able to calculate the seasons?
Yeah, the sundials, you can tell the time and the season. So these ancient people knew astronomy very well, because it was life or death. They needed people to be able to tell these things, because if they didn't, you could get a catastrophe. You could all die out. So it was really life or death to know when to plant things, when to maybe migrate, when to move. So all these things are things they really needed to know. So they really knew the astronomy better than we did today, because it was life or death.
Well, they understood the cyclical aspect of seasons.
Nature of it, yeah.
The nature of seasons, but they didn't know when to anticipate them. And I also
they knew, they wouldn't know when, but you can use the sky to know, because the constellations, the patterns in the sky, they follow a pattern where the stars, the same pattern at the same time will appear at the it'll be the same time, same hour, and the same day. The same pattern of the seasons, the same pattern of the constellation will appear at the same time. So if you could see when the constellations would appear or rise or set, you could actually tell, you get a good idea what time of the year it is.
Right.
Because there is a cycle, as you talked about, there's a cyclical nature when the constellation appears and when it disappears in the sky for a particular time.
Well, same with ancient fishermen, too. They were able to navigate the tides and where they were going on the ocean according to the constellations, right? They could see or follow the North Star, looking to see where the North Star was.
Yeah, the North Star, because that's always north, and it gives you your latitude. The higher the North Star is from where you are, the higher your latitude, the closer it is to the horizon in the Northern Hemisphere. The lower in latitude, the closer to the equator you are. They knew all these things, so it's amazing. If you ask most people in the today, they probably wouldn't know. But these ancient people had really specialized knowledge of astronomy more than we do today.
Right. That is fascinating. Stryker says to you, Nazca lines, how interesting. Nazca lines are the constellations of the Earth. And he also says, well, how about all the drawings that the Incas, the Aztecs drew about this giant reptilian-looking figures? The Incas, the Aztecs, the Mayans, did they draw pictures of ancient giant reptilian-looking figures?
I guess so. I've seen like an ancient Native American, like I don't know if it was a painting or a show, where it looked like there was astronauts in the picture. So I'm sure they had lots of pictures of these creatures, these gods, and sometimes they look like things we have today. So that's like there's these old pictures. It looks like someone has a cell phone in it. I don't think they have a cell phone. It just looks like a cell phone. Or you'll see a picture of a person and it looks like a person today is that person like time traveling. You don't know. So I think if you have enough pictures, enough drawings, it could be anything. It could look like anything and things. So it's probably not impossible, but I've seen no evidence for that these aliens visited them. Maybe it's possible, but there's no real scientific evidence.
Oh, and also, like you said, I think you brought up a good point, is that perhaps we have these preconceived ideas of what a square, somebody holding a square about the same size and shape of our modern day cell phone can be. And so therefore we have this preconceived notion, and we put it on top of that and say, oh, it's a cell phone. Where, 15 or 20 years ago or 30 years ago, when we didn't have a cell phone, it wouldn't have been a cell phone, but the picture was still there.
Yeah. So it may be something as simple as that, where the thing is that maybe they drew it. They thought there was reptiles that were gonna come get them, and they just drew pictures of them. So it maybe just somebody's depiction of what they thought was going on, or some scary thing they saw, or who knows and stuff. But there's lots of study. People do study these things all the time because they're trying to understand what was going on, because you can't ask them. There's no video. There's no real writing of what was happening, what they were thinking. So it's one of those things. That's what makes it interesting to study these things, and the thing. And there's different versions. People believe different things. So I don't know. There's no real right answer, because no one really knows what was happening. It's just usually people go with the consensus.
And it also could just be Stryker. It could be something that is germane to that community's mythology, their allegory, and their folklore, where they have stories of big reptilian creatures that, like Tom said, that they could be afraid of at that time. But it's more myth, and myth is really important, and it's woven into each culture. There was a book called Man and Mythology, where they talk about the importance of myth in each one of our cultures, and how we hand down stories and allegories of good and evil, and how to behave in community. So it just may have something to do with that. We're not necessarily attributed to ancient aliens or alien existence. It could be something.
Yeah, I'm sure their myths have some basis in fact, but what is the fact? I don't think we have a good idea.
Yeah, the fact could not be aliens. I mean, or outer beings from outer space. It could just be an idea of, oh, there's a reptile, there's an alligator. Well, let's make it 5 times larger and make it the scary bad guy in this myth to tell a story. Tell a story of good versus evil, which is always one of the main story that even today our movies, right? Our movies and our TV shows. What is it? It's man versus man, man versus himself. Man versus nature. So when they didn't have TV and they didn't have movies, they're still telling these stories around a campfire to other people in the community, to prove a point or to get a point across, right?
And if Andrew's interested in it, I'm sure it might be interesting for him to actually try to do research on these things, actually go into it and look at them and see what is the thing. Because I'm sure people still do research on them for different reasons. So he might be interested in trying to research them and trying to understand what was really happening. So
yeah, Stryker, I think that's really important when that you actually said that, Tom, that so much of astronomy, yes, we're looking up at the celestial bodies and we're trying to understand what's going on out there, but a lot of it too is about our own history. Right, and what was going on in ancient man's mind at the time, what was going on in their environment at the time, which could be, dramatically different to what's going on now. For example, the Middle Ages were extremely different than they are today, than our time today.
Yeah. Yeah, and even 100 years from now, I'm sure what we learned in astronomy, a lot of it could be wrong. It will change. So every 100 years or so, the astronomy you would live 100 years ago would have been kind of different than what we know today, and 100 years before that. So things change because we learn more. So things will start evolving.
Yeah, and I think that's what's really important about science and so interesting about science for, young people out there are just learning about science. It's that science is full of truisms, that they're paradigms that are not, they're current paradigms they're not fixed. And as we learn more, these ideas and concepts can evolve. And that's what's so exciting about learning basically the world around us, right, Tom?
Yeah. So by learning science, so that's one of the things is science, the more we learn, there's things, and science changes. It's not absolute. It evolves over time. But with the reason we have cell phones, we have GPS, we have cars, it's all because of science, because people do experiments, they get something and then they make it better. But it's amazing what we able to do. The computers, all these things, it's all based in science.
Yeah, for young people out there, it's so exciting. Andrew, thank you so much for the doggy. I see him. He's so cute because Andrew is heading off to class right now. And Caitlin says crop circles are another mystery. And the list goes on and on. Andrew's like, he's like about to go to class right now. But, crop circles are another thing that people have also attributed to either communication with aliens or aliens themselves. And do you have any thoughts on crop circles that are found like in the UK?
I think with the crop circles, then you hear stories about people who actually made them. I'm not sure if they were made by aliens or if they were just people actually can make them. I think you can make them if you want to. So all these things, it could be, but there's no real evidence. And then it always seems like somehow people make them. So
I know
you need really extraordinary evidence. If you're going to believe in that, you really need to have something that is impossible to make. So I don't know. But I've seen cases where there's been people who made these crop circles. So
right, and then there's people I think that jump on the bandwagon, so to speak, and they see something like a crop circle and then decide, this is kind of fun and it's a good hoax, kind of like people that did Bigfoot or the abominable snowman. Caitlin said they were doing with lawnmowers, LOL, and I saw a show where they were actually stomping down on the crops with their feet. And they were stomping through, making crop circles. And so I think there's all sorts of ways to do these type of things that we consider maybe phenomenon or not. And Andrew said lawn. He always wanted to correct somebody for their spelling lawnmowers. So Andrew's correcting Caitlin right now. Anyways, we're talking to Tom Burbine, and he wrote a great book that you can see here. It's available on Amazon. I wish we had it to put it in the queue, but can you go ahead and say the name of the book again and the spell?
It's called Asteroids, Astronomical and Geological Bodies. So it's on Amazon. You can easily buy it there. And I'll be able to check if anyone buys it because I'll be able to look at the sales ranking. So if it goes up, someone bought it, most likely from the show. If it stays the same, then no one bought it.
No, it's awesome. I actually have a copy of this book, and you were saying it's like, it's a brief overview. Tom, it is meaty. This is a dense, deep dive.
Yeah.
To me, you did a lot of work. This is a deep dive into astronomy. So there it is. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for putting it up there. Look at that. Look at all the stars, asteroids, astronomical and geological bodies. This book is featured in our carousel. So like I said right now, don't forget always, no matter what, if you're watching Sway TV, to shop the show, to go ahead, you guys, shop the show down there and take a look at all the wonderful items that you can find here that are available on Amazon, including this book, which is Tom's book, and it is right in front right now on our carousel. So please take a look at it. And if you want to see a repeat of this interview, you can find it at swaytvreplay.com. That's swaytvreplay.com. And you can also see the book and hear more about it. If you just joined us, we have astronomer Tom Burbine. He is an award-winning astronomer from the winner of the Chambliss Award. He is also professor, teaches at a university, is here to answer any questions that you guys might have right now about our world, our universe, and beyond. Andrew said that's expensive for a book, right? But then again, there are other astro books cost. Yeah, I know it's expensive. Explain that.
Yeah, that's the price. Books are expensive now. So there's color pictures. That was the price. It is expensive. I think you might be able to get it cheaper used, but it's about $80. So Yeah, books are expensive. If you don't want to get it, you can probably get it from your local library. So if you don't want to buy the book, you could request it or ask your library to buy it so they can buy a copy.
But I mean, this is a book that it's not like you're reading a thin a book that is not weighty. This is a very dense, meaty book that is a deep dive.
Yeah,
into.
there's pictures in the book. Yeah, there's information. There's an index. So it's all these things I tried to make a real book out of it. I didn't want to have like a pamphlet. I wanted a real book.
Yeah, this is not a coffee table book. Like I said, I've read some of it. It is a very deep dive into the planets, outer space, beyond, and a lot of the concepts and the theories that we've been talking about today. So, does he teach at Massachusetts? That's what Caitlin wants to know.
Yeah. I live in Massachusetts, so that's where I teach. So I teach at a few places. So I like Massachusetts, a nice place. I live kind of in the country. So I go to like LA sometimes, but it's where I live, it's pretty quiet. Sometimes I don't live that far from New York. So if I want to see the big city, I go into New York.
Yeah, you go into New York quite often. You get all the good Indian food and see everybody.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I haven't been there much because of the pandemic. So I'm hoping once I get the vaccine, I'll be able to travel more. But it's crazy now. So because everything's been like locked down for a year, so all my classes are online. So you rarely see any students. And
oh, hi, Sammy. Good morning. How are you? So Sammy is back. She had to go and attend to Zoom, and she was the one that was at the top and was asking you questions. Sammy, Tom is still here. So if you had any questions that you wanted to ask him, we're talking about astronomy, planets, celestial bodies. He talked about his new book, his book that is on Amazon right now, talking about asteroids and meteorites. We've just been talking about his book. And, Caitlin was curious as to where Tom teaches. You said Massachusetts. So now Tom, if people are interested in perhaps taking one of your courses, how would they go about doing that?
Well, I teach at UMass. UMass has this online program where you could take the class. They actually have a very good online degree. So if you wanted to go back to school, sometimes people take my classes and they actually transfer the credit. So it's UMass continuing ed. I teach during the school year and during the summers. You can just sign up. So you can, it's a very good program they have where you can people take classes there and either transfer the credits, or some people take the classes to get a degree there. So usually they're older students who want to get a degree, go back to school and get a degree. So they have a very good continuing ed. You can enter the program, I think. I just teach some of the astronomy classes, but you can take classes there. If you want to go back in school, you could take a few classes every semester. I think they also give you maybe course credit for work experience, but it's a very good program if you want to go back and get an undergraduate degree if you didn't get it when you were younger.
Well, do you have any basic courses for people that are just starting out in astronomy? Say you just don't even have a grasp on it. Do you have any course for somebody who's just beginning?
This class I teach, we go into the basics. It's a class we teach basic astronomy. You need to know some basic math skills. And then we also, during the school year, you have to make observations of the sky. So if you take the class, you will get a very good background in astronomy, much better than when you started the class. You'll know all the planets. You'll be able to recognize stars and constellations in the sky. You'll be able to know what's happening either with the planets or what's happening with stars and black holes, galaxies. So these are all things you'll learn in the class. Learn about extrasolar, how we discover extrasolar planets. So it's a good introductory class. But if you don't want to take a class, pay for it, if you go online, you can look on YouTube and you can find videos on any subject. So if you just want to learn about any subject, I would just search for it on YouTube and you'll find information. So if you don't want to take a rigorous course, you could just Google search any subject on YouTube and you'll be able to find information on constellations, stars, black holes, anything, and just watch it. And there's also TV programs like Cosmos, the Universe.
Oh, that's right.
Different things. Yeah, so there's lots you can do if you want to learn about astronomy. You can either pay for it or it's all free now with all the technology.
Right. Well, also, didn't Neil deGrasse Tyson have a master's course? That
he has a masterworks class, I think he has, and then he also teaches Cosmos. He also has a podcast. so you can learn. So, and there's different ways. So I would just Google it, and you can read stuff on the internet, even go on the Wikipedia. So there's lots of places to learn about astronomy if you want to learn about astronomy.
Well, I didn't know.
You can pay for it.
I didn't know.
You can pay for it or get it for free.
Yeah, which is awesome. And I didn't know that you had to have so much math. I'm terrible at math, honestly, Tom. So what would you have to know? Would you guys, I would assume, use a lot of physics to use, like calc and trig, and what do you need math to?
Yeah, it's mainly physics. A little in math, like scientific notation, because you need to deal with either small numbers or big numbers. If you just want to learn the constellations and the stars, you really don't need to know any math. But if you want to learn more about objects, you have to do some math. So we have to solve some simple formulas to understand why gravity works. You should understand the formula. There's very small numbers or big numbers, so you need to know some like scientific notation. I don't think the math is too bad. It's mainly college level math. But if you really don't want to know math, you mainly just deal with like identifying stars and constellations in the sky.
Right. Stryker asked, what about the giant skull that was discovered in Alaska? Do you feel like that, or Tom, do you believe that was a hoax?
Yeah, I don't know anything about that. It's sometimes these things are hoaxes that they get, or like urban legends. So I don't know anything about giant skull in Alaska. I'm sure it's online, but I'm sure a lot of it seems to me like urban legends. It's really not true. It just got caught, or some history, or they found something kind of similar, but I don't know anything about the giant skull.
You know, it's funny because, like, as we were saying earlier at the top of the interview, sometimes that people get confused, and not that you were just saying that, but the astronomy and astrology. And then I think a lot of times with astronomy, people start thinking about all these urban legends of aliens and ancient alien civilizations and how they affected man. And like you even said, Tom, earlier, that there's a belief that perhaps we come from ancient aliens from outer space. And so I think people have all sorts of kind of extreme ideas, but we're basically just talking about, science. And like you said, science has to be provable. And if there is something out there that's extreme, it could be real, but show us, like Neil deGrasse Tyson always says, is you've got to basically show the evidence, right?
Yeah. Carl Sagan, I think, to make like an extraordinary claim, you need extraordinary evidence. So that was like talk about trying to find like life on Mars. If you're going to claim that, you really need to have it's something that doesn't seem possible. You really need to have great evidence. And most of the time when they have these things, the evidence, either it's a grainy picture or it's this person told this person. There never seems to be great scientific evidence. So that's what the thing is. So if you look at these things, you should, if it seems too good to be true, it's probably too good to be true, as with any like a deal or anything.
Well, that's what Neil deGrasse Tyson said too, because I remember him saying, can people listen to science? Can people actually listen to the facts rather than extrapolate all sorts of crazy and somewhat far-fetched ideas? And that's fine, because that's when it goes into the realm of myth and folklore, and science fiction and all the fun stuff that we like to watch. And we were talking about all the neat shows that are available here on Amazon and the Amazon platform on either DVDs, box sets, or if they're the Amazon Prime shows. And that's awesome, but I think there's a difference we have to distinguish between astronomy and science and actual fact versus the myth and the folklore and the fun stuff that we see on Star Trek and some of the other shows that we talked about, earlier.
So you really should look at anything and just look at what the scientific background is, or the papers. There's reasons why you come up with a theory, you get it, you publish it, it gets reviewed, and other people challenge it, and you look at it, and other people, then once it's published, other people write articles you're supporting or not supporting it. When that doesn't happen, there's a higher chance that what's you're reading isn't true or just made up and things. So it's up to you to judge.
And also, like I said, when Copernicus was saying that, we revolved around the sun versus vice versa, that was considered an outrage at the time. And like you said,
Yeah.
it was considered sacrilege because man wanted to be the center of the universe. And we, for our own personal sociological reasons, thought that we should be the center of the universe. But scientifically, it was in fact. But to retrain the mind to think of that, it was so outrageous at the time that it caused an uproar that he was getting himself in trouble, basically.
Yeah. Copernicus was Kyle, but Galileo, who kind of worked on some other things, he was like house arrest. So, and it took a while for these things to change. There's people now who believe the Earth is flat. So there's the Flat Earth. There's a documentary on Netflix
Thomas
that
Dolby,
talks about it. Yeah. So there's people who believe these things now. So there's no real evidence for it, but there's people who believe these things, and you never know, is it what they truly believe? They're looking for attention. You don't know. It doesn't seem to be based with any scientific fact, but there's people who still believe these things. So there's going to be people who are going to be contrary, and sometimes the contrary people are correct, and sometimes the contrary people are totally wrong. But that's why there's science. They have procedures, and they work pretty well.
But these new concepts, I think, sometimes they're so shocking that they challenge the norm, and these ideas that we have had set in stone for so long. It's considered like sociologically outrageous to be able to say all of a sudden, hey, the world is not flat, the world is round. What? I mean, it's hard sometimes for our society to be able to grasp and believe new scientific concepts, right?
Yeah. Some people don't want to believe it, but over time they do get it. So anything new will be challenged, and then it'll be up to other people do experiments and try to prove or disprove what they thought. If they can't prove it, if no one else can do it, like someone once said that they seem like these neutrinos travel faster than the speed of light, which would have changed what we know about physics. The problem is they looked at the experiment, there was some type of mistake in the distances that they used, and it didn't travel faster than the speed of light, but they looked at it. So you can propose things, but you got to it needs to be testable. That's how science works. You test things. If the test fails, then either the way you tested it was wrong or what you were testing was wrong, but there are checks and balances. So it works pretty well, science. You can come up with an idea that's out of the mainstream, but it has to be able to be backed up with some type of facts or experiments or something.
Right,
and if you can't back it up, it's not science.
I think that's what Carl Sagan was talking about too, that he said that, you have to have something that's going to show proof or evidence. Otherwise, it is not set in stone to be scientific. And of course, there's science fiction, like you said, and there's allegory, and there's the imagination, and that's an awesome thing too. But I think that needs to be kept in one realm, and then science has to be kept in another. And before we had science, we were using all these other types of myth and allegory. For example, off the top of my head, I remember they were saying that the ancient Egyptians believed that the dung beetle was the one that rolled the sun across the sky every day, and then because that's how the sun was moving. Because in their mythology, they had dung beetles in that area, and they didn't know how the sun was going across the sky, so they kind of made up their own stories as explanation because there was no scientific procedure at the time.
Yeah, I agree totally. They come up with these things. And even with like Carl Sagan, who you mentioned, his Cosmos show, which was done in the 80s, really holds up. You can still watch it, and you will be impressed how good it is compared to because it's so well done. Yeah. So that was the thing, because there were these shows that really brought science there, and there were other shows like In Search Of with Leonard Nimoy, where they would talk about like Yeti. And,
I remember, that's right.
And the Bigfoot. I think it might even be on Amazon. So there's stuff, but most of this stuff is not backed up with any science, any experiment. So you can believe it, but if you want to really show that it really was happening, you really bring it up with some facts, some experiment that can test these things. If you want to believe in ghosts, you can, but if you really want other people to believe in it, you need to have some test or some way to prove that these ghosts exist.
Right. Stryker says Galileo Picaro magnifico. So I guess he's saying Galileo is magnificent. And he also said, what's on the other side, Tom? What do you think is on the other side of a black hole?
They don't know. I think you're just destroyed, but they have no idea, and I'm not sure. So it'd be nice if you could travel to another universe, but I don't think there's any evidence yet that that could happen.
Does the black hole soak in all matter, or is that just something that I was?
Well, if you get in the black hole, it doesn't really suck in stuff. It's a lot of gravity in a small space. But if you enter the black hole, you don't come out. So that's the thing is, it'll increase in size, but you're pretty much probably crushed to death. You'll be just crushed. The gravity is so strong, I don't think anything can survive. But they don't know what happens to the matter that goes in the black hole. Does it go out somewhere? No one knows.
Well, that's what, explain the concept, and is there actually a thing, or is this a concept of a wormhole? Is that a real...
It's a theoretical thing. I don't believe anyone has a proof, but theoretically they can exist. But I don't think anyone's made a wormhole. They use it in the movies a lot, but I don't think anyone's proven that these wormholes actually exist.
Well, do you think that because time is malleable, there's a possibility of eventually going through time travel, or is that something that's just purely scientific, science fiction?
I don't know. I've seen no evidence. It may be possible, but there's no evidence that you can travel like backwards in time. It's very kind of cool to think about, but I've seen no evidence, and I think it's super difficult. So it may be one of those things that isn't possible, but people love talking about.
Sure. What about, Caitlin, her kids are getting restless, so she has to go. Thank you so much, Caitlin. Thank you so much for spending so much time with us here. And with Tom Burbine, we're talking about his new book, his book that is available on Amazon. Thank you so much. And we hope to see you again tomorrow. We were talking about time. What about what they were saying, the Philadelphia experiment? I don't know if you're familiar with that.
Yeah, I know that it was something where they saw, I think during World War II, I think it's one of those urban legends. I don't think it really existed, but people talk about it. But all these things, they sound nice. There's something happened maybe, but there's no evidence that there's like time travel. I've seen no evidence.
Right, or being able to, like in Star Trek, being able to move from one place to another.
Yeah, but faster than the speed of light. There's no evidence you can do it. It would make life a lot easier, but
sure.
I'm sure people are working on it, but none of it has happened before.
Right. And, we were talking about, science fiction and some of the shows that Tom and I talk about all the time. And you guys in the queue are telling us there's American Gods, and we were talking about Star Trek, and you love Picard. And all of these shows, isn't it me correct saying that Star Trek, they're available in box sets that you can purchase here on Amazon?
Yeah, I think all the shows, and I don't even think you need to buy box sets. You could stream them on Amazon Prime. Either pay for them, or maybe they come with your subscription. All these Star Trek, so they're all streaming now. So you don't need to even buy them anymore. You can just stream them. So if they're not on Amazon, I'm sure everything is on Amazon, but you can get it either on Netflix or Hulu or anything.
Oh, that's awesome. And also, you were telling me the other day, if you were to win that $250 Amazon gift card that we were going to give away here on March the 8th to a lucky viewer, you said you were going to get a DVD box set for DC Comics?
Yeah, it's actually a book of, it's a graphic novel. It's not actually a box set. It's actually all the comics together that they wrap them up in a nice package. So I think that's what it was. It was Crisis on Infinite Earths. They made it into a kind of like a mini series between all the the CW superhero shows. They did like a version of it, but it was this comic crossover of all these comics. I think they have a very fancy version of it, but it's very expensive. It's like $250. George Perez was, I think, the artist on it. He's considered one of the greatest comic artists.
Oh, I didn't know that. Oh, that's awesome. For you guys out there in the chat right now, tell me, is it Marvel or DC? Because I know that people are really opinionated about that, and so many people say Marvel. What do you think, Tom? What is your opinion, Marvel or DC?
I'm more of a DC, but
really?
I like Marvel. The Marvel tend to have the better movies, and a lot of the TV shows they tend to be. But I'm more of a DC person, a Batman, Superman. But I like Marvel too. Like WandaVision's very good, and all the movies are very good.
Stryker says that I always heard since I was a child that if you enter a black hole, There, I've heard these things too. These are all speculation. There's another universe identical to ours on the other side. Maybe it is just a theory. I don't know. What do you think about that, Tom?
It's possible, but there's no evidence. So it's one of those things that it's probably possible, but there's no evidence that you could enter a black hole and survive. I don't think so.
And if there is,
it's possible.
Do they know? Does science know if there's something on the other side? Like if a black hole has
They have no idea. They have no idea. They've never really come close to a black hole. They've never studied it. They're all theoretical things, pretty much. There are objects that appear to be black holes. We've never studied one up close. They have no idea. They've never sent anything in a black hole. So it could be, but you don't know for sure.
Right. What is a nebula, like a crab nebula?
A nebula is like a star-forming region. It's just a gas and dust that's pretty big, and usually they're forming like the Orion Nebula. It's a star-forming region. There's lots of gas and dust in it forming stars. And if you look at them in the sky, they're kind of like blotchy areas of the sky.
Oh, got it.
Very small though, but.
So is a star, because I know the sun is a star, we're on a planet has matter. So is it my assumption correct that the star is formed of like gases, hydrogen, helium, and no matter? Or does it have dust too?
Yeah, it's just very hot matter. So a star is just going to be hydrogen and helium. It's just going to be super duper hot. So it's like a plasma where the electrons have left. It's matter, but it's just super duper hot. Like the temperature of the sun surface is like 5,800 Kelvin, 5,800 Kelvin. The interior in the core is about 10 to 15 million Kelvin. So
right,
it's just super duper hot.
Millions and millions of degrees.
In the center, and then the surface is maybe 5,800 Kelvin. It's hot enough to you be fried, but super duper hot.
So our planet on Earth, what is on the inside the core? Is the core molten, and then the outside?
There's a molten outer core, and then the inner core is like solid. So the core, so it's iron. It's mainly iron, probably some nickel, silicon, maybe, but most of the core is iron of the Earth.
So why is like you said, there's a molten component to it? How does what creates the energy to keeps it molten? A lot of it is probably when the Earth was formed, all these things came together and you get all this kinetic energy. Mm-hmm. And there's also like radioactive elements. So I think it's slowly cooling. The core will cool off, but it takes a long time for the energy to like dissipate and go out to the surface. So it just was like Mars was thought to have a molten core, but they think it froze like early in its history because Mars is much smaller, so it cooled down quicker than say Earth's core, which is much bigger. Got it. A Striker is asking, Tom, what purpose do the constellations have? Well,
mainly the constellations are just to find objects in the sky. You use them to find places in the sky. You can identify every star is in the constellation just to identify them. To learn, you can see things to identify other stars. Constellations now are just used as like regions in the sky, just fun things, but they don't really have like a real, the real purpose. It's just random assortment of stars that we put together. But the stars are all different distances from each other. Some stars are close, some stars are far. So it's like an optical. So over time, the constellations will change over time because stars are born and die. And the stars move as they rotate around in the galaxy.
And that's right. And then the constellations are man-made construct, Striker, over the stars. The stars are there. Constellations are a way for us to better identify them. And like we make like Orion, Orion's belt, Ursa Major, Ursa Minor. We label them so we can understand what's up there. But it's a man-made construct. It's almost like an idea of a map over the stars to help us better understand, if that makes sense. Right?
Yeah, I agree totally. They're man-made, these constellations, and different cultures have different constellations.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Like the Chinese culture are very different because they didn't really all the Greek, the Babylonian, they would exchange ideas. They exchanged ideas on the constellation. The Chinese culture was more separated, so they didn't get it, so they made up their own. Mm-hmm. Like even Carl Sagan talked about, if we had constellations today, we would call them very different names. maybe there'd be constellations like Justin Bieber, or they would have a constellation, a cell phone constellation, or a computer constellation. Very different names because we would do them, but the ones we use today are just mainly in ancient mythology. Most of the ones we see today.
Right.
The ones like in the southern that we can only see in the southern hemisphere, there's like a telescope, a microscope constellations, because they were named by like ancient explorers who traveled in the southern hemisphere of the Earth.
You guys, thank you so much. We've had such a wonderful time with astronomer Tom Burbine. He's been talking about his book that is available on Amazon, talking about asteroids and meteorites. If you guys are interested in astronomy, or you have children, or just, hey, dipping their toe into the world of astronomy, I encourage you to check out his book here that's available on Amazon. Tom, thank you so much for spending this
thank you so
time
much,
with
Candace.
us.
It was a great honor to be on your show because I followed your career so long. So it was good. I'm so glad you're on Sway TV and you're doing so. I don't know how you can talk all this time, all this talking and speaking. It's amazing. And every time I watch the show, it gets better. A few episodes ago, you were curling your hair and then talking about my book at the same time. So I don't even know how you can do that.
Oh, no.
I'm so impressed with you.
Oh, it's awesome. Thank you so much, Tom. We had such a wonderful time, and I'm going to talk to you later on anyways. But for the rest of you guys, thank you so much for joining us. Thank you for coming here today, and enjoy the rest of your day here at Sway TV. Bye.
Bye.
Make sure you guys follow Sway TV. Follow Sway right here. Ooh, it's this way, sorry. Corey says, thank you, Sway TV. Shakira says, thank you, Sway. Yes, guys, it is so much fun. We love Sway TV.
We're here all the time streaming live. We're sharing great products. We're doing great interviews and amazing giveaways.
Amazon, we love you, Amazon.
So grateful for you guys and for Sway TV.
I've had such a great time with all of you.
Shop attainment all the time. It is a girl's dream come true for someone like me to be able to give you dating advice and shopping all in one platform.
Amazon Live! Woo! Let's sway!
Let's sway. Let's sway. Let's sway.
Let's sway. Let's sway. Let's sway. Let's sway. Let's sway.
Let's sway.
Let's sway.
Let's sway.
Let's sway.
Let's sway. Let's sway. Let's sway. Let's sway. Let's sway.